are. It's incredible. There's no soggy crust. It's just like whenever you first. It's actually it makes the crust a little bit even crispier than when you get it fresh from the pizza place. So and then like
Absolutely.
yesterday I got I found this recipe for making like candied almonds. So I whipped up a batch of those, and it's just like 20 minutes. Boom, it's done. It's incredible.
Oh, I haven't thought about doing candied almonds, but yeah, air fryer. In fact, in 2024, I think we should just change the show to late night air frying.
Dude, I love this thing. I've already made like 2 or 3 different recipes on it.
What about you,
I was
Vankman?
already
Don't you have an air fryer? Are you gonna get one?
Hmm?
Huh?
Hmm?
Huh?
We've talked. Why are you asking me the same question again?
What are
We've
you
talked
talking
about this
about?
before. I have an air fryer. I don't use it
Oh,
Why
why
don't you
not?
use it?
because I have a microwave.
Ah,
Of
dude.
course.
The air fryer is so much better than a microwave though.
No, I'm good.
For many things.
You
I
like
mean,
the
if you're just looking to like nuke up, I mean, some things you can nuke up quick, but
Yeah, like popcorn. Like I don't think you could do popcorn in an air fryer. That might be
You,
the one benefit would be
I, I,
popcorn.
I hate popcorn.
You hate
No,
popcorn?
yeah, yeah.
Who's the
you can't like
Nazi
you
now?
can't like reheat French fries in a microwave. Ugh.
You can
Yeah,
for
those come out soggy. Nah, dude.
well, no, you put it in like for like 10 seconds.
No.
You also
And
can't
fried
wrap stuff in
chicken,
aluminum
nasty.
foil.
Why would I put a
Yeah.
fun, dude? You can't put aluminum foil in a microwave.
Exactly, but you can put it in an air fryer.
Okay, I can also put it on a plate for 20 seconds.
Eh,
I put a
He
cover.
just doesn't
They have
know.
covers. They have covers you
it's
put
okay.
over it. So
Eh.
I don't know. I'm not
Anyways,
picky.
let him stay in the Stone Age. We are we're live here on Late Night Comics. It's 2024.
Oh,
Some things never
fire!
change. Um, some things stay the same. And how you guys doing? It's the first day of the new year. Do you feel different?
I do. I'm feeling good today. I've felt pretty good the last week actually. A little lazy, a little sluggy, but I feel good though.
What about you, Magwin?
I'm a little down. Not under the weather. There's still a lot of talking in the past couple days.
Oh, geez, yeah. Speaking of that, I was wondering why we even planned a show for tonight. Vankman has done two best of 2023s already. Apparently,
I've also watched 3 other channels that do their own.
the first,
He's a
yeah,
streaming fiend.
It's the end of the year. Everyone does this.
it's actually the
It's the
first of the
beginning of
year.
the year. Yeah, it's the beginning now.
No, well, yeah, you're doing yours. Yeah, and today, just like he did his.
I waited until the whole first day of January. Um,
So,
yeah, I mean, obviously other people are doing streams. I mean, that's different, but this is like you doing multiple streams. So
because
I was,
well, and as I pointed out to E, we all did 3 different formats of it though. Mine was kind of like I talked about the books I want to talk about. E was about the worst and the best. Yours is specific categories.
uh,
It's kind of like everybody does their own take on how they review stuff. Not
yeah,
everybody reviews the
I
same
have to
way.
try to do something a little bit different because everyone seems to want to stream what I want to do before I get to it. So it makes it challenging.
Like
Uh,
Zach and I do the top five. 30 million other people do that.
We're gonna see how well that goes this year with my new comic budget. Zach might have top two.
If it's
yeah, right
all right,
on.
oh my
Zach's
gosh,
gonna
it
join
better
my
not.
world. Mm.
It just
California.
there. No, 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 no. I'm not moving to California.
That's why he can only afford 2 books because he hates paying more taxes.
Well,
Well,
it's not
that and
even
I'm just
necessarily
trying. I'm
about.
trying. It's not even taxes. It's just trying to budget and be smarter with my money.
Uh, eh,
Yeah, and
we'll see how
it's
long that
also
lasts.
just this. It's also just has to do with a lot of just value. My
Hmm.
Right.
issue is that I'm finding value in other things, and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, I could buy this, but I'm already kind of devoting my money to these comics. I'm like, wait a second, this I want a lot more than the comics. Why am I, and I'm just finding like that comics are kind of a commitment, It's like
Oh yeah.
they're not just like random, like one month I buy some comics, another month I don't. Like if there's a series I'm into, whatever, I commit to buying it. Um, and so if they're just even if they're just mid, it's like I'm still paying for it. If I get roasted a lot because I watch The Flash, which I don't really do out of choice, but more to share in someone else's enjoyment of it. But be that as it may, I don't spend any money on it. Like it's
Yeah.
it's there. I waste a little bit of my time, but it's a trade-off because I get to spend that social time. Uh, but with comics, I'm like, I spent $4.99 on this book and I didn't even like it. And I could have like bought a whole video game. Like right now, there's like a massive sale on video game. New Year's is like a crazy time, man. They just really they know no one has money because it's been after Christmas, and so everything's like super cheap, and you're
You
like,
know,
oh, I gotta buy this because it's like 90% off.
you said you didn't spend any money on it, but time is money.
I went
So
to the mall like the day after Christmas. Like, dude, everything in the store was at least 40% off.
uh,
Sometimes 70. Like,
Walmart had like 90% off on their Christmas stuff. I could have got myself a 9-foot tree, which too
I
tall. And it's too tall for my ceiling because I have an 8-foot ceiling. I'm
yeah,
like,
I got a bunch of Christmas stuff.
but it was like
At, yeah.
it was a $300 tree, dude. It was on sale for like $98. I was like, it's a display. I was like, I could probably put this anyway. It's a foot taller than what I need. I'll just kind of like bend it over. It's like
Uh,
the guy's Christmas, come in there. It's kind of like Ernest, how he just puts the tree in there. It doesn't fit. It's like, oh man.
sure. All right then. We want to say welcome to Rhaegar and Undead Quinn. They're in the house. Rhaegar says popcorn is gross and fried chicken is gross.
In the words of
What?
and
Fried
And
chicken is amazing.
in the words of old Ben, hello
I've
again.
never heard anyone say fried chicken is gross. Like I just,
Yeah. What on earth, dude?
I mean, I've had
I,
some not appealing fried chicken, like
I
that.
like
Don't
grilled
get me
chicken.
wrong, but like
Grilled
really
chicken's
good
good
fried
too.
chicken. Yeah, grilled chicken's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with. They're not mutually exclusive.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd say there's various versions of fried chicken. I wouldn't say all fried chicken's bad, but depends on how you prepare it.
But even pretty decent fried chicken is really good, like in my opinion.
Gas
Um,
station fried chicken.
I said even pretty decent fried chicken. Like I use like KFC as like the bar. Like KFC is not the best fried chicken, but it's decent.
Yeah, KFC. Yeah, that's true. KFC is not that great.
KFC is amazing.
Mm,
I liked it better than Popeyes, and I liked it better than what's the other one that place?
Yeah, but you
You guys
also
like?
prefer to microwave things, so we're not going to go by your
yes.
tastes.
Well, that's great. I'm could give two shits about what you like. I like what I like. If you don't like it, too bad. That's your problem. It's the thing where I have to match everybody else to conform. Communism? No, thank you.
It's not communism to say Popeyes is better than KFC. That's just common sense.
Why is it common sense?
Because it's better.
Because you think it's better?
No, because a lot of people do.
Well, a lot of people name them.
They're all of the South.
All of a sudden.
Look at how many Popeyes there are everywhere, and then compare that to
Wow.
the number of KFCs.
A lot of
Yeah.
Marvel readers like the X-Men current right now.
No, I don't believe
Yes,
that at
By
all.
yes.
the way,
there
a
are
lot of-
people that like the
lot of-
X-Men,
when-
and there are people that like KFC, and that's exactly what we're talking about. There's sometimes people prefer microwaving things, and it doesn't make
Yes,
any
but
sense.
I don't know if I would say a lot of people though. I would say people. I don't know if I
Hey,
would
I
say
mean,
the
KFC is a
overwhelming
big
majority.
chain. There's people that like the KFC. I do think Popeyes makes better chicken. KFC's got some sides and some different things. Plus, KFC does have the Mountain Dew Lightning, which I like. But
Oh, I love their the coleslaw is great too.
they do have. I think KFC has better sides than Popeyes. But I think Popeyes makes fantastic, and their chicken
I haven't
sandwich
had-
is the best chicken sandwich.
I've
I
had
mean, it's better.
Popeyes about twice.
Better than
And-
Chick-fil-A even.
Chick-fil-A is just to me, I think it's overrated.
That's
I think I think the reason it became so popular
Goodness.
because the reason I think it became so popular because it's a Christian based company.
well, it's definitely one of the reasons, but I mean, they
So
also make a pretty darn good sandwich.
Yeah, there's a reason why when you go to Chick-fil-A, there's a line around the drive-through, and it's not because people
Yeah.
are like, it's a Christian-based company. People are waiting in line because they want it, and it costs more, so they're willing to
no, the
even
reason
pay more.
True.
there's a reason there's a line for all the ones by me because they have smallest parking lots for whatever reason.
I don't know. I've seen their parking lots are expanding. Like the ones by me have pretty large parking lots.
Yeah, but the
I
size of
think
the parking lot doesn't change the line at the
it does.
drive-through. You can have a parking lot the size of a stadium. It doesn't mean like if you have 20 cars in the drive-through, whether you have 2 parking spaces or a million parking spaces, there's still
You
20
say
cars in the drive-through.
so. What you're saying in there is the same thing I see at 2 a.m. going to Taco Bell. Those lines.
Are your Taco
Uh-huh.
Bell still open at 2 a.m.? Mine close at midnight.
I've had them at 2 a.m. on Saturdays. Yeah,
Man, I miss having a 24-hour Taco Bell.
they're not 24 hours. They just open at 2. They're open like the 2 a.m.
I know, but back before COVID, they were open pretty much 24 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, but during the week they're open till like midnight.
Oh.
But anyway,
So Undead Quinn's
Getting-
also in the chat. Welcome, Undead Quinn. He went to
Quinn!
run
Happy
out,
New
but there was
Year!
no stores open. So apparently we're second fiddles. He's joining us. So
Hey,
that's
man.
why we do it on New Year's Day, because we trapped you. You had nowhere to go. Every place is closed. We do the show, and it's all part of the plan. People make it either too greasy or too dry. I don't know what that was talking about. Probably
Fried
maybe
chicken.
fried chicken.
Yeah. or they
let's
put
see.
weird seasoning on it.
Rhaegar does say Popeyes is better than KFC, even though he thinks fried chicken is gross. I'm not sure how he has an opinion on that. But that's let's see. Their waffle fries are tasty. Speaking of fries, man, that's my big
waffle fries.
KFC
Well,
used to have these potato wedges.
That
and
was
they
the
were
best thing
they
KFC
were
had.
yes, they were
Yeah.
the best thing. And they were like, we got rid of them for French fries, and I'm like, you're dead to me.
I think Raker doesn't want to be racist. That's why he's saying that the Popeyes is better.
But KFC was started by the Confederate Colonel, wasn't it? Wasn't Colonel Sanders Confederate?
I don't know.
I thought he was. Could be wrong.
I think
Maybe
he's
that's
a
just a nickname.
It's a made. Well, it was a real guy, but
It was a real guy, yeah. But
what they've done to it is kind of made up. They
Ah,
changed it.
okay.
Yeah, he was alive after the World War II, so he wouldn't have been a Confederate.
Yeah, well, after the Civil War. We fought
sorry,
the
that's what I
Nazis
meant
in
to
World
say.
War II.
Sorry, I don't know what my brain was saying. Civil War, my mouth said World War II. Yeah, thank you, Zach.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you. Rhaegar says that sandwiches are good, and also the parking lots in town are huge and still full. Marani's in the house as well. Let's not forget her. She says certain brands of fried chicken can be called gross. To this day, I have a problem with KFC Extra Crispy because it's not cooked all the way through in your experience. Man, that must be a problem with your KFC. I usually go with the Extra Crispy. And I think it's probably just an individual thing with the franchise. Like, you're gonna have different quality control issues. Like, whenever you do that, like I've been to McDonald's, which are just nasty and just never. And then there's some that like they're run like a really tight ship. And granted, it's still McDonald's food, but like you can tell there's like a way better quality control.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't ever judge anything just by like one experience of a location. In my opinion, that's my recommendation. She prefers store brand fried chicken or regular KFC fried chicken. One day she'll try Popeyes again. Oh yeah, I would recommend trying Popeyes again. I did not used to be that impressed by Popeyes when I was younger. I experienced them when I had visited the South. My grandparents used to live in the South, and I was like, Popeyes, whatever. And then when they sort of made their way out here to California, everything, and it was like, oh, Popeyes, oh, and everyone's going nuts. I'm like, really? Why is everyone? Who gives a shit? It's just, it's like second best KFC. Like, why is this? And then I retried them, and I was like, oh, this is way better than I remember. So they upped their game, I think. All right, we can stop talking about the food. This was just kind of the warm up to get us going.
Say I'm getting hungry again.
Mariko Tamaki. We're gonna talk about Power Girl. and the cupcakes.
It's plenty fine to talk about food. It's the bad thing is when you write your comic book about superheroes talking about food. It's it's not like food is a bad thing. Um,
Right.
so speaking of food, yeah, sorry, I was finishing up my my eggnog. Did you guys get your eggnog this year?
I just finished the last of it the other day, and now I can't find any more in the grocery stores.
Well,
So,
That's what I always
no,
hate.
yeah, I don't like eggnog. Sorry, I'm the odd man out this night.
Surprise, surprise.
just tonight.
Surprise.
Well,
Just
you,
kidding.
2024 is the year that RDV becomes the guy we make fun of for not having taste instead of Zach. Who knew this was going to happen?
only on this channel.
2024, the apple gets thrown at you, Vinkman, not me.
Says the guy who's probably excited for the new Ryan North book.
You don't know what I'm excited for.
We'll find
Nobody
out
knows.
because that's one of today's things. We'll be talking about the best of 2023. For you guys that are in the chat, we'd love for you to get in on this. We'll be asking some various. We'll be doing different topics. For what we'll be covering. What's the biggest surprise hit of the year? What's for personally, we'll be covering what our biggest disappointment of the year was, what our favorite writer was, what our favorite artist of the year was, who we thought our favorite publisher was, who our favorite miniseries was, what our favorite ongoing series was, as well as what we're excited for in the coming year that we're aware of. And finally, our overall best, what was like our best comic of the year, be that was our series or a graphic novel that came out or something, anything. And so you guys, you don't have to answer that right now, but we'd love to hear your picks too, and we'll shout those out. We'll just kind of reminisce on the year past. And yeah, we're going to talk about some comics. I think we'll cover one comic if it's okay. I tried to find Duke, guys. I could not find a digital copy of Duke.
Oh wow,
So
I don't think
Dang.
you're going. I don't think you're going
that's
to
crazy.
because it's a very hot book.
It was dude. My shop actually ordered like a ton of it. I think they learned their lesson from the Larry Hama GI Joe, where they only ordered like 6 copies, and a lot of people got upset because a lot of people wanted it and they only had 6 copies. So I think they learned their lesson with the GI Joe fans. So now they order a ton of them.
yeah, it's almost like GI Joe fans are excited that a quality comic publisher is doing their stuff, and it's no
Right?
longer IDW. So yeah, so we'll be covering those, and I'm gonna be also when you guys are talking, I'm gonna be looking for some comics deals. This is the time of year, by the way, for you guys listening.
Ooh.
If you like getting cheap comics to read, and you don't care that I mean, these are digital,
I
but
was about to say, is this
Comixology,
physical or digital? Okay.
yeah, Comixology every new year has like this insane sale where you get like full trades for like less than the price of a comic book. So it does require you to have a digital copy. So there is a caveat, but spending $3 for a trade versus $30 for a trade,
Heck yeah.
it might be worth the trade-off if you just care about reading it. So, I like to make people aware and not look in the middle of January and be like, oh, I totally forgot to do that. So we'll cover some of that, and I do have Geiger. I trust you guys have both read the recent Geiger.
The miniseries. Yeah.
Yeah. Ground Zero. Yeah, I liked it. That was
All
good.
right. So I did was going to try to do Duke, but no, there's no scans for it, so I can't.
Man, that's nuts.
It's weird. Yeah, it's with indie books. It's sometimes difficult, but I was like, that's not going to be a popular book, And I figured with Transformers is available, but man, no Duke for some reason. Let's see. I'll put this on
I'll
the
see
screen
if
for you guys to see.
if there are any extra copies when I go on Wednesday. I'll snag one for you.
No. I just meant I need a digital copy so I can do it on screen.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I see
Physicals
what
don't
you're
help
saying.
me.
I see what you're
What
saying.
I need to do is find, and so like Geiger, I can find a digital, so I can put it on the screen.
I
That's
see
all.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, but no worries. We got the best of, so that's going to be the primary amount of content for tonight. Um,
It's available for $3.59.
well, yeah, I can buy it. Like, um,
Buy now with one click.
so yeah, if I'm going to buy it digitally, I'm going to wait a month where it's half price. That's another thing you
Yeah.
guys can do if you don't care about physical copies. Image, all their books are half price 30 days later. So you can basically just follow any series delayed, pay only $1.99 per issue or $1.79 if you're a Comixology Unlimited subscriber. Um, so that's what I do for some of the comics I don't want to buy physically, and I think I'm going to increase that in 2024 because I just don't need physical copies of everything. Like one of the books that I'm buying digitally right now is Sacrificers by Rick Remender. It's a pretty cool new sci-fi series that I believe Undead Quinn is also into.
My friend John's Comic with Kids did a little Instagram video about that. Seems interesting enough. It's just not my cup of tea though.
Yeah, I could see. It doesn't seem like something you've been into in the
It's
past.
one. I guess apparently is something about one person each family is set up to be sacrificial. So that
Yeah, it sounds
It,
about right.
yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to describe, but it's a very interesting world building like it's very imaginative. It's one thing I'm appreciating of it, and I do like Rick Remender's writing for the most part. Um, he's kind of hit or miss for me, mostly hit. But so I'm gonna give it a chance. Like I did read, like when I read the first issue, I was like, oh, it's pretty good. I'll start buying them for $1.99 an issue and see where it goes, and I'll dump off if it doesn't keep me. But so there you go. This is Geiger up on the screen. This is Ground Zero, which is a 2-issue miniseries that's a prequel to the original miniseries that came out in 2022. Was that right? Um, if you guys aren't
So
familiar, Tariq Geiger is the main character. It's a little bit on the nose, kind of a name. It'd be kind of like if Peter Parker's name was like Peter Spider, but Peter Arachnid is Spider-Man. But whatever. Geiger is a character. The premise of this story is it's kind of in a Mad Max style post-apocalyptic future where nuclear bombs have devastated the world, and Geiger has taken a strange dose of radiation that's mixed with his physiology, that's been altered by the fact that he was undergoing chemo treatments and whatever. And through the work of various comic magic and science, um, the radioactivity has altered his body, and it channels radiation. Um,
yeah, from my understanding, because he's going under special experimental uh, chemotherapy, and
yeah,
then when he got caught in the blast, it triggered an X gene in him.
kinda. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It takes a little bit of what do you call it? Suspension of disbelief, obviously. But that's cool. It's the way comics do things.
He's
Um,
Deadpool.
I don't know if he's dead. It's almost
The
like
movie.
if the Hulk, his origin is very similar to the Hulk, but instead of becoming super strong, his body just absorbs radiation and then it reaches a
Smelt it.
saturation point and then explodes. I guess
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
difficult to kind of really pinpoint. They haven't fully explained it, but they're kind of getting there, which I appreciate. Um, and so this story is a 2-issue story that kind of goes back before the first series started, where Geiger is just known as the Glowing Man, and he walks the wastes, and he's sort of this legend, this monster, and he doesn't have any control of his powers. And so what we find is this story explains how he got control of his powers. We find in the miniseries that he had those like 2 rods that he carried with him This
Mhm.
explains how he got those. And so we open up here and we see this scientist who is kind of helping him. And I'm not going to really go into his background. We covered that on the last episode where we featured issue, not the last, whatever the previous episode we did where we had Geiger on. We covered that. And this guy was working for these other guys trying to find his wife. We discover that he's like a Russian scientist who worked on the project that kind of ended up being used to set off World War III. So he does know something about this. He identifies Geiger is a man that is suffering tragedy. He sees, he relates to him because he himself has undergone this tragedy, separated from his wife and things. So they're a bit of kindred spirits. And the name of the story is called The Last Good Man. And that's where you pick up. So Geiger is like pounding on the door to the bomb shelter that he had created in the past before the war for his family. We see like a little flashback of him and his family. They made it into the shelter. He never did. So he's been suffering out in the waste ever since. He's been reduced to this emotional state. The radiation's kind of like poisoning his mind, so he doesn't even have much control over his faculties at this point. And we see the scientist when he comes across him, he sees the problem, he identifies it, he goes into his little shelter or whatever, gets these boron rods. He knows Geiger's coming after him, but he stops him by stabbing him with one of the rods, which kind of isolates or diffuses, if you will, some of the radioactivity.
They're graphite rods, I think.
Boron. They're boron.
Boron. Yeah,
boron. Yeah.
Like Borat, but not.
Boron is a real thing. But he stabs him into the in the chest and gets control of him, chains him down, and while it starts to come, like Geiger starts to kind of come more into his senses, and he's like, "Oh wait, what's happening? My kids." And this is where they kind of have a little bit of a bonding experience in a way, like he's able to communicate to him, and the scientist is seeing that this guy can help him, and he realizes that he can help Geiger, so he's like, "Hey, maybe I can trade. Like I have a way I can help you control this radioactivity, this power of yours, but you help me." In the meantime, Geiger's still kind of not full control of his faculties. He's kind of a rage. The scientist is like, "I'll shoot you if I have to," and as Geiger breaks free, he ends up shooting him. Sorry, he doesn't end up shooting him. We think he ends up shooting him. We see the bullet go through his chest where the rod is, and he's like, "Ugh, I knew it." And then we catch one of the men that was using the doctor, that has a vengeance. They're on a mission of vengeance against Geiger because Geiger, I guess, killed their wife or sister or someone important. I can't remember.
His brother.
So it's very much a 90s kind of like type of thing. Shoots him from behind, and then we see, boom, he gets shot in the neck, and it's the scientist. And we get some kind of like monologue going through, and it's like, "I would have liked to think that it was the first time I killed a man, but it's not." So we know that now, the scientist, he's got a bit of a dark past. And this is where he gets to explain that, to him, it's like, "Look, my wife, she's a pediatrician. She's in Colorado, blah, blah, blah." There's a lot of dialogue that goes on, and it's very, it's actually like, it's very compelling. This whole story, the 2 issues, is very conversational dependent. A lot of the story is told through the communication of the characters, not a lot of action, but it's in my mind is very interesting because it kind of develops the characters. I really like this scientist guy. I wish we gotten to know more of him. He creates the rods, explains that, as long as he keeps these rods on this special vest that he's made in place, it'll keep his powers in check, but he needs to never remove them, which makes us realize, wait a second, of course this is going to happen. We read the miniseries that follows. Right. He does end up removing them, but now we at least know why. Like we this kind of informs like, oh, okay, this is why removing those rods made a difference. So they get in the truck and they're on their way to Colorado and stuff, and we get some more, you know, some like not necessarily banter, but some bonding between the two. That I think really I found very interesting. It's kind of a good like mano y mano like man to man kind of bonding. Um, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, boom, they get sideswiped by a massive semi. Um, and it's some like warlord guy who's kind of lost it, and he's he's like, save it, old man. Every time everyone out here is a sob story. They try to tell, and I take what's mine, so I take what's theirs. And we see Geiger kind of stumbling around. He's like, oh, where's the other rod? We see the glowing start up, and he's losing control. In the meantime, the scientist sneaks up behind the guy and rips off his face mask. And then the warlord is, like, oh, give it back, give it, as soon as you give us the keys to your truck. And so they're kind of having this like standoff with this guy until he sees on his chest there's a name tag. He's got all these different trophies that he's taken from people that he's robbed in the past. And one of the name tags says Lena Molotov. And Geiger's losing control, and you think, oh no, it's going to be bad. But it's not Geiger that you have to worry about. He's like, what did you do to her? Tell me. And he's like, I warned them to go. I gave them a chance. They wouldn't leave. And Geiger's still trying to hold hold it back. He's just there. And the boom shoots him in the head. And then he walks over, picks up the rod, slips it into the holder on Geiger's thing, which puts him back to normal, and they get back in his truck, in the truck that rammed him, and they find the encampment, and the encampment's all deserted. And then they kind of make a grave, or find a grave, I guess. I can't tell if they found it or made it, but either way, it's kind of a memoriam to his wife. Geiger.
It looks. I was say it looks like he's put it at a tombstone over there, so they probably buried him.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he's definitely like writing into it. And there's like a monologue talking about how this kind of feels like a wrap it up monologue, but it's it's like this is what happened, and in the later years they kind of become friends and they share interests and blah 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 blah, and then eventually they have a big argument, and he leaves and doesn't come back. And we get some monologue also explaining how one day, like, it's been 20 years, and like one day will their paths ever cross again, and if so, will it reveal the scientist's secret and the people that know that he's got this dark past, that maybe he caused the unknown war, and blah blah blah. We get a picture of Geiger's two-headed dog, which I find fascinating character from the miniseries. It would have been nice to see where that came from. So this series did feel a little like this ending feels a little abrupt to me. I appreciate the origin, but it also feels like you could have given us like an issue or two more, just to give us a little bit more of the details, like the dog and different stuff. But I'm also feeling kind of satisfied for what it was trying to accomplish. And then after that, we get an epilogue, which is featuring Junkyard Joe, and this, for me, was unexpected and a fantastic little teaser. We get a point of view from Junkyard Joe, and we see what look like other Junkyard Joes, or perhaps soldiers just wearing those masks. You can't really tell. And we see that's like there's memory sources. We see the first one is in Vietnam, the next one's in Indiana, so that's presumably the Junkyard Joe miniseries.
Yep.
And then we see source Washington D.C. And in the picture we see Geiger, we see this other guy I don't know, and then we see Redcoat. And he's like, Geiger saying, Junkyard Joe can help. He's dangerous. What fun would this be if he wasn't? And then we see memories.
I thought they restored.
Go ahead.
Okay, fine. I was just gonna say I thought they actually put Joe back together, and then he went nuts, and now Geiger's gonna kill him again.
I don't think so.
That's the impression.
So we see this next one, the last one, memory source error, and in my belief or understanding, this last frame is from the Junkyard Joe miniseries. Remember where Junkyard Joe fought Geiger? And so there's this error. He's like, we're going to remove the rod on 3, 1, 2.
Well, Junkyard Joe fought Geiger in Geiger, not Junkyard
Right.
Joe.
Right. So we have Vietnam, where Junkyard Joe was originated. We have Indiana, where the Junkyard Joe miniseries takes place. Then we have Washington, D.C., where I don't know where that is. And then we have
Yeah.
there was a time in the
Geiger
Geiger
universe.
miniseries where Geiger fights Junkyard Joe in the future.
Yeah.
And presumably, from my interpretation, that's what we're seeing here. Is from his point of view in that series. And then
I think the next one's gonna be like, yeah.
So we connect and we see these soldiers. They're pulling this rod out of Junkyard Joe, which I am interpreting that this is again in the continuity of that Geiger miniseries. So that we're in the future here, but these soldiers are wearing that gear, and they say this belonged to the glowing man. Then the robot's awake, and then we see memory source error, the unknown war. I know who started it. He's like, I know, and he's just repairing his memory, and then all of a sudden we see Junkyard Joe throwing people around, and another mission thing pops up: locate Geiger Tariq, and he walks off. And then the teaser, to be continued this April in the all-new monthly Geiger series.
He basically continuing off, yeah, like I said, basically he's still his mission, like it was in Geiger, is they program that could take down Geiger. So he's just basically following his mission again. Now he's been reactivated.
That's a could be, but I'm thinking, I mean, he already fought Geiger in that series. We know that Junkyard Joe is essentially a good person, and we get this memory here. I know who started it. I'm thinking that Junkyard Joe is kind of thinking for himself again here.
But
we'll find out.
He's still. I'm sorry. He's still got the the Geiger program to eliminate by Geiger at all costs. But since he got damaged now, it's starting to return his self awareness.
Yeah. I think Junkyard Joe in the Geiger series was not himself. I think he was being controlled.
Yeah.
And I suspect now he's back to being uncontrolled, and it's the Junkyard Joe that we know from the Junkyard Joe miniseries.
Yep.
But that's just my suspicion. And then we get more information about the Ghost Machine comic starting in January, which I'll be getting. And that's the summary of the book. So now we can let you guys give your feedback and input and comments on the issue itself. Who wants to go first?
Let's echo.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like this. I've liked all of the Geiger related stuff, the Unnamed War stuff. I think it's been really cool seeing Geoff Johns create his own characters and his own world. I was kind of like you. It did feel like a really rushed, like it was like a little 2-issue miniseries, which I'm getting really disenfranchised with miniseries. But like it's been showing us more and more of this world. And so I'm okay with that. I actually liked a lot of this, like showing us this this world and his origin and everything, which you think we would have seen in the regular Geiger miniseries. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I really like the little announcement we get that we're going to have a regular monthly ongoing title. That's the part that really got me.
Right.
Because it seemed like for a while, and I don't hate this with what Geoff Johns is doing with this unnamed universe, because it seems like he's taking the early MCU method where it's like, okay, introduce Geiger, Junkyard Joe, Redcoat, all these characters in their own miniseries, and then group them all together in one big story. But now that we're getting like a monthly ongoing, like that's really cool. I'm really looking forward to that.
What about the issue itself?
The issue itself was good. I enjoyed it. The Dr. Molotov, I actually liked. It kind of gave me a if you read the original, like the original Captain America run, he was very much, he reminded me kind of Dr. I think it was Erskine or Erstein,
Ah,
the
yeah.
uh
Yeah, yeah.
the doctor who helps Steve Rogers out.
Uh-huh.
Because that's essentially what this guy does. He provides him with the boron rods, and he kind of helps him stabilize and everything. And then he ends up out. He ends up not being around him anymore. And I very much got that vibe. And then like the whole thing where he's like looking for his wife, and then he finds out his wife was killed by the crazy warlord guy. Uh, yeah, it was overall, it was a good issue. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I personally thought it could have just been one 48 page or one shot.
Probably could have been. I
Yeah.
think it could have been.
I mean, I really didn't need to know more about Tariq. I cared more about his interaction with Joe. So I mean, it's okay. I can tell everybody else, read the Geiger series first before you read this because it's huge on spoilers.
Yes, that's a good point. I was thinking that actually when I was reading this issue, and I was like, could you just do this chronologically and read this first? Because it does take place time-wise
I-
in order before the other series. However, the way that previous miniseries is structured, it kind of
Yeah,
relies on the mystery of not knowing who Geiger is. And so if you read this
exactly.
first, you'd be like, oh, like the first 4 issues of the miniseries, you'd be like kind of almost wasting your time in a way. Go ahead. Sorry, I
Yep.
didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I'm just saying. It says I could have went without reading this, and I would have been fine. The biggest pop I got for me is seeing the ongoing Geiger series coming up and more Junkyard Joe.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
I love this issue.
Solid art though.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
I
It
mean,
is
of
solid
course.
art.
I mean, yeah, that goes without saying. I think that the art is just
Gary
top
Frank's
notch.
awesome.
Yeah.
I was reading this, and I like the whole time I was reading this, I was like, this comic is made for me. Like, this is what I consider an adult comic. When I use the term like adult, in these days, you say like adult comic. Most people, their brains, I think, are gonna go to like, oh, it's sexual and all this. Like, when I mean adult, is like it has sophisticated storylines, like where it's relying on like human drama and things that would bore kids, right? Kids want more just action and things like that. Like this is a human drama of characters standing around talking, which I totally understand. That's something that I say a lot to make fun of comics. And so it sounds a little bit kind of like a hypocritical statement. However, when I say that, it's usually what I'm really trying to say is it's really bad writers that don't know how to write, making characters standing around talking, and it's totally uninteresting and doesn't do anything. But for some reason, like when Jeff Johns is doing it, I'm fascinated. Like I just love this character. Like he's just making me love this character more and more. I did not care about Geiger in the beginning, and it took several issues for me to warm up. I was interested in the world building. I was interested in the whole unknown war mystery, like what it was. But it wasn't until issues 5 and 6 of Geiger where I was like, oh, and he did that Jeff Johns thing where he like revealed the hero sort of thing. And you're like, oh yes. And by the end of the Geiger series, it's over. You're like, oh, cool. So here, now that I know who that character is, I found myself more fascinated. And I think this also lends to RDV's point that you should read this second, because I also don't think you'll be as interested in the backstory if you haven't read the other story. You'll just be like, oh, why do I care about this scientist and this Geiger guy? Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I cared because I was already invested. I was already falling in love with this character. I already like felt for his tragedy. And so this story really meant something to me. This whole scene with the scientist kind of getting, like, I think one of my favorite shots, where was it? Here. This whole thing with this random warlord guy that like crashes into him, and he's just taking his stuff. The way that this played out, and he comes across and sees his wife's doctor
ID
badge
tag.
thing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't explain. Like I love how Jeff Johns doesn't rely on explaining to you what's happened. He just he trusts you as the reader to figure it out and
He gives you
understand.
credit.
Yeah, yeah. You get what he's saying, and he lets you feel because he shows you what's happening and you're following along. And because I've been on the journey of this doctor, as soon as I saw that Lena Molotov dog tag or the badge, he didn't have
He's
to
dead.
tell me. He didn't have to tell me how to feel. I already felt it. I was like, "Oh, that mother effer," you know. I was just like, and then you see Geiger's like struggling and he's been the whole rage machine. He's been the whole one who's out of control this whole time, and the doctor being the one who's in control is ultimately the one who needs to help them. Like he's the one who needs someone to help him control. He can't. And you see Geiger's like, I can't hold it back. And you flip the page and it's boom. And it's the doctor who can't hold it
Yeah.
back. And I was just
Honestly,
like, man.
Yeah.
the
Oh,
Doctor it was the most important character to me in this whole entire 2-issue little miniseries. I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of
I was
was
not
almost more of
expecting.
a
I was not
story of the
expecting
doctor.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this just was a
Well,
very human moment for me that I just, you can just see him crying right here. Like he's just all of the heartbreak of his wife, everything that he's been like hoping not to be. He's been wanting to find her. He's been making these sacrifices and allying with these terrible people to I just got to get back to my Lena. He's carrying the guilt
mean-
of the war and all this stuff. And he comes to this point and he realizes there's nothing left. Like even her,
Like-
she's gone too. And the only thing he does is he gives into it and he kills. Oh, anyway, sorry. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I was just gonna say, I would compare it to Oppenheimer. Like I love
Yeah.
when we're kid, we're playing like we love the nuclear bomb, how destructive that is, like that's crazy and stuff, and like and then you get this story about the guy who created it. It's like, holy crap! Forget about the bomb. This guy's actually kind of cool, you know.
Yes,
know,
that's a very good, astute point. I would have not liked Oppenheimer as a kid, but I very much like it now. So yeah.
Yep.
Just a tragedy. Just beautiful. Like I just love. I mean, the quality of this book. I say it all the time. When a comic book can have top level writing, but also have top level art, it doesn't have to sacrifice on either. That's when it's worth your $3.99. Like is this the greatest comic I've read all year? Would I want every Geiger book to necessarily be like this? I don't know. But I did really like this one. And I totally relate to Zach's point of, the miniseries fatigue. And so my first thought of was like, oh, they're doing a 2-issue Geiger thing. Like, what really? All right. I do like it. I mean, it's quality. I'll get it. But it's not
It's
my,
like,
but
well,
it's good. So I'm like,
I understand why he brought it in because not only it keeps it fresh, reminds you about the whole Geiger story, add some more new stuff, then it's doing its job as saying, hey, look, there's a new series coming out, so it gives you something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you wait
yes.
too long in between, you're like, I don't remember the first one. Why am I going to go read the second one?
Right. And I
Yeah,
think part of
that's
this too was also to kind of tee up what's to follow, to get people to be
Yeah.
like, oh, and this little teaser thing, which is only 2 pages. Again, you have to have read the Junkyard Joe stuff and the original Geiger for this to really make sense. But if you've been following up thus far, these 2 pages give you a lot to kind of pour over and be like, oh, like, is that what this means? Is that what, I'm finding myself really invested, and I really love the idea that he's building this shared universe. Because that's one of my favorite things about comics is like, I can enjoy your comic, but if you have multiple comics and they all appear in the same world and they have the opportunity to cross paths, they don't have to cross paths all the time, but that captures my imagination. So like I'm just like on board. Any of the Geiger stuff, any of the Unknown War stuff, I'm gonna get all of it because I'm invested in, and it's been all top quality thus far. So there we go. And here's the calendar for upcoming release. So in January, we're getting Ghost Machine 1, which I believe is like an anthology book.
Yeah, I believe it is. So I
I
think
think
there's going to be some Redcoat. There's going to be
Brand new
this thing
characters.
called Rook, which I'm kind of interested in. It looks really cool. I
Yeah,
think yeah,
I'm thinking this
there's
girl is
a
Rook.
bunch of stuff in there. Yeah.
I'm guessing the girl is Rook. Yeah, 64-page special. I normally don't give a two craps about anthology
Oh, so you really
books.
feel.
I don't. I bought when the original Geiger 80-page Giant came out. I kind of rolled my eyes and I was like, "Really? Why didn't you just put what are you doing?" But I bought it because I was just collecting it, and I didn't read it for like 6 months. Just sat there, and then one day I was like, I probably should read this. Like, and I flipped through it and I was like, oh, I'd say 75% of it was really good. Like there were parts of it that I could have done without, but I was like, I really enjoyed this way more than I thought I was. I don't want them to constantly be doing 80-page Giants, but it's made me, if I hadn't read that, I probably wouldn't be as excited for Ghost Machine as I am because I've seen like what they can do. I'm also very excited because it seems like Jeff Johns is really packing together big talent.
Yeah, he
Um,
really is.
we got Gary Frank doing it. He's got Justin Fabok. He's got
Mhm. Peter Tomasi joined up with
Peter
Ghost Machine, I
Tomasi is
think.
one of the writers, I
Ivan,
believe.
Ivan Reyes.
Ivan
Ivan
Reyes,
Rice
yeah.
is part of it.
You heard
Brad
it here, guys.
Meltzer, who's a writer. Brad Meltzer joined up with them.
Brad Meltzer. Yeah, so it's just like every artist he has is a top tier artist. Every writer is a top tier writer. So I'm just like, it's
He and
not
Mark
going to be
Miller are
like
they're about to be poaching everybody. It's gonna be
right.
a
It's not like I'm going
fight
to get
between
Ghost Machine and it's like here's an 8-page story by Jeff Johns and then another story by Alyssa Wong and then another story by Vita Ayala. Like I'm not getting that. Every person that's
right.
going to be involved is going to be top tier, like artist and writer. So I'm like, oh well, that's an anthology book I'll buy. Like, um, and plus I'm invested in the universe, so it's going to be stories that are part of the Unknown War. Like and then in April we're getting an ongoing series, which I'm excited for, but I'm also a little reticent because I thought the original plan was to do kind of like a mini series for each of the characters of the Unknown War.
Right. That's what I thought too.
And I don't know if that's like been altered or what the deal is, but like I guess there is a Red Coat book. I don't know. I don't know where they're going, but we'll see. Yeah, Jeff Johns is doing the Lord's work. No, not really. But
As far as comics are concerned, I think
the
we can
Lord
say
of
that, yeah.
Comics work. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, pick these up, guys. Like I mean, if you haven't, you can still get the trades. You can get the books cheap digitally. However you want. I think this is a series worth investing in. I'm investing your time in and money, I guess. I mean, not that I'm thinking you're going to get returns on your money, but it's good entertainment. All right. Let's see. Annette Quinn says it's more like Toxic Avenger meets Hulk. Seems a apt comparison.
I can see it.
Rhaegar says, I remember the theme song was great from something else they were talking about, Toxic Crusader, I'm guessing. Undead says, if you build a world, it gets viewers. Yeah, I think so. I think that helps get people invested, right? I use the Captain Marvel movie as a perfect example. It made $1 billion, not because people wanted to see Captain Marvel. It's because they were invested in the MCU. Like,
Right.
so, Jeff Johns, Shepherd of the Flock, says Rhaegar. Tehillim is in the chat, says Shalom. Good to see you all. Welcome to Tehillim. Shalom to you. Undead says Jeff Johns did the best DC events.
He really did. That's not even close.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I did like Scott Snyder's DC events. I mean, but that's a little
It's not
little
his stuff was
controversial.
good, but I think comparing to Jeff Johns though, like Infinite Crisis, Blackest Night,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
those two right alone. I'll
Yeah.
take both of those compared to Death Metal or any of that.
And Jeff Johns, in my mind, is like the quintessential DC. I just think he understands
Yeah.
DC in a way that no one else does. And
Mm-hmm.
it's sad. It's sad that DC had him at one point and they should have just been, okay, Jeff, you just tell us what to do and we'll do it. Like that's just what they should have done. And that's why I'm
Yep.
excited for this Ghost Machine, because I'm like, okay, so it's not DC characters, I get it, but it's Jeff Johns running the show. So I'm getting a world that comes from his imagination and being contributed by all these other talented people, but it's kind of under his umbrella. And I'm just like, okay. And it's in his mind. So since I think he captures DC so well, these characters feel very like they feel almost like DC characters because it's that same mindset behind them, if that makes sense.
Kinda. I can kind of see. Like, I don't pick up Geiger or Junkyard Joe thinking, "Oh, wow, this feels like I'm reading his JSA run or his Teen Titans run." But because I know it's the guy who wrote those runs, and I like his writing style or his storytelling style, that does make it easier to read, I guess. Not like it's a chore to read. It makes me more willing to try, I guess, because
Mm.
I'm familiar with the name that's attached to. It's like Chris Pratt. I'm a big fan of Chris Pratt, and if he does a movie that I normally don't watch, like if he decided to do a horror movie, I hate horror movies. I don't watch them. But if I knew Chris Pratt was going to be in one, it would make me more inclined to check it out.
It's kind of yeah. And speaking of that, Ryan Reynolds did that. Remember he did that horror movie? It was like
Which one?
I think it was called Life. Or
Is that the one where he was buried alive?
no, the one where he's in space.
Was that Ryan Reynolds?
Then the space station, and the entity alien gets on board, and it starts taking them out one by one.
I did not see that one.
Yeah,
Huh.
it was like Life was in the title, but it was like yeah. But I watched it because there was Ryan Reynolds in there.
Oh, interesting.
I'm
I'll
not a
have
big
to look that up.
yeah. So
I do want to see that new movie he has coming out with John Krasinski and Steve Carell, the Imaginary Friend one. That looks like it could be fun.
Yep. Ash still here?
I am right here, having
Okay.
some troubles behind the scenes.
I was waiting for you to get bumped out of the Discord call, and then you turn, it's just you.
I was waiting to hear the little Discord noise.
It's gone.
Gone. Oh my goodness.
He talked about the books he liked. He's done now. Bye, guys.
See ya. No, one of the things I'm going to talk about real quick. We'll welcome Eric Breen, who's not actually here, but he says if he was here, he would say hello.
Hello
apparently
again.
If he was here, I might say hello back to him.
he apparently did read the new Ed Brubaker graphic novel, which I didn't even know was out, but apparently it is. What's the name of that? You guys remember?
Where the Body Is.
Where the Body Is. Yeah.
Something like that. It's been out for 2 weeks
Sounds
now.
right.
So apparently Amazon's getting it later, which I can't really cry about. I kind of like that it's going to the direct market first, because Amazon says it's coming out in like 2 weeks. So they must have a deal where they're shipping it to the direct market stores first to give them an opportunity to sell it, and then it'll go to Amazon. I think that's a cool deal, to be honest, because otherwise, I mean, comic stores are struggling. So bravo to you, Ed Brubaker, if that's what your deal is. I can't think of any other reason that would be. Ryan King is in the chat. Welcome. He says Happy New Year, and he was the one that asked that question. Apparently, they both liked it, so I'm excited. If Eric liked an Ed Brubaker story, I know it must be good. Let's see. What if Eric was here, he'd still be recovering from the 3+ hour stream that they did last Friday night. So
talking about the Mickey Mouse one, which is like 108 views now. Crazy. We read a story from like 1930. 107 pages.
107?
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's a big book for a reading. Jeez, guys.
Yeah, but it was fun though, and it paid off.
That's like
another
5
example.
comics.
Another example that the more everyone suffers on the channel than the reading, the more views we get.
Is that what I need to do?
Yeah.
Need to
Make you
suffer?
guys. I
No,
need to make you
I,
suffer more.
I don't stream to suffer.
Oh,
Sorry.
Well,
that's
you
all right.
don't, Ash, or not. It's funny how Zach will show up for these, but he'll never show up for reading, even when they're like 30 minutes long.
You guys don't do a 30-minute reading.
Wait, yeah, go back and look at the channel, man.
Well, I
There's
mean,
tons of 30 minutes.
Marania just outed you, said he did a 3+ hour reading.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Well,
right.
yeah, that is our longest reading. We
So
What
you
about
gotta
the
give Zach a little bit.
king-size?
You gotta give Zach a little bit of flack. I mean, not flack, but credit here. Like he's got to do a job. He's maintaining a relationship, and he streams like multiple times a week. That's difficult to fit in.
Zach's like my other friend. As soon as they get married or you have a girlfriend, they're like, "Who are you again? I have no idea who you are."
I appreciate you,
hoping-
Zach. Thank you, Zach, for not doing 2 other best ofs before you came on tonight to do it. Appreciate it.
My best ofs
You
will
know-
exclusively only be mentioned on this
Well,
stream.
that's because Zach was. Well, you caught Zach being awake and not being with his girlfriend. That's why he's able to be here.
Well,
I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, but you know, also I haven't gone and done my best of like 5 other times too. So
5 out of
Speaking
time.
of-
Can you count?
Speaking of best ofs, let's get into best ofs.
are we doing that? Oh, sweet.
Let's do it. Now, before, real quick, I just want to mention while people are still awake, reminder, real quick, if you're interested in the cheap comics, Comixology is doing a massive sale. They have over like 3,000 DC comics. Let me double check that they still.
Yes.
Uh,
Side note, just
some of
bragging
them went off sale, so it's not quite 3,000 anymore. So this is why you gotta jump on this, because it's like the New Year's thing, and I'm worried that I already missed out on some things. But you can get like comics like that. Some of these books are like $2 for a mini series, like the Super Sons, a whole trade of Super Sons for $1.79. Like, really? So
Yeah,
I just want to mention that.
Like,
jump on Amazon or Comixology if that matters to you. If you're only a print person, totally understand. I'm not trying to convert anyone, but I'm trying to just give people options. Save $1 in 2024.
heck yeah. I'm gonna have to let my girlfriend know because she reads almost exclusively through Comixology.
Yeah, it's especially awesome if you have a tablet. If you don't have one, I totally understand. Digital books are kind of a pain, but if you got a decent tablet, it's like night and day. You might actually get converted. But we'll start off with our topics, or our best of. I wish I had I guess I can just put the thumbnail up here. What our best of 2023 was. I didn't prepare a big fantastic production here. I could have had a slide for each one of these, but it's cheap, no frills here at Ashland Comics. Our first one we're going to cover, and you guys please participate. I'd love to know what your picks are. Our first one is what is the biggest surprise hit for you personally? Not commercial success, like just what hit you out of nowhere? Like you didn't it doesn't have to be like you didn't know about it, but you just weren't expecting it to be as good as it was. You gave it a try, and it really won you over, and you're like, "Wow, this surprised me." What was the standout surprise hit for you of 2023?
I'll go first. Like, release
right.
for me.
Go for it.
And this is a book that's our late friend Skip, aka Curtis, recommended. It's Local Man.
Oh.
This was not on my radar whatsoever, and then he said, "Oh, it's Tim Seale." I'm like, "What? I don't want." So then I read it, and it's Tony Fleek's Tim Seeley, and it's been awesome since I've reading it. And I still thank God that Skip actually got me to read this, because I normally would not pick it up. The guy had incredible taste. Murder Falcon, not a thing I would be into. Then read it, I was like, what? It's just crazy. So gonna miss the guy, and he miss his impeccable taste for books that I normally would not pick up.
Amen.
So Local Man,
For real.
yeah, Local Man is it's probably because I'm thinking more like really read through it, it's because Tony Fleek's probably like keeping him in check. Like, dude, we're not writing shit books here. It's
Dude,
probably
sometimes mediocre to poor writers can really
yeah.
have their game lifted when they're with someone talented. Like
Do you think it might have something to do with the editing, like editors also? Because I know
editors,
sometimes editors at like Jim Zub is a good example. Because when he wrote Conan at Marvel, it was trash. But now he's writing Conan for Titan, and it's really good.
Well,
like
I think it also has to do with they don't have the virtue signal. They can actually write what they want to write. Yeah,
Mm,
it's
so I think
possible too.
that's
yeah,
we got to make money when you're outside of Marvel
So
DC.
I'm liking
that's
it
true.
like to Tom King. I thought Tom King started off on Batman reasonably strong, but I think it's because Scott Snyder was still handing the baton. Like I think Scott Snyder was still involved in the beginning, and then once Tom King really just kind of was off on his own, it just steadily declined. And so I'm like, I've seen what Tom King does when he's with someone else, and it's not necessarily bad. Like if if Tom King were to partner up with someone that I liked, I wouldn't just immediately turn it down because I think it's possible for him. And so I think Tim Seeley same. I was like, I don't really like him by himself, but I do like Tony Fleek. So I don't know. Anyways, I think you know what I'm trying to say.
And sometimes bad writers can surprise you with good books, but Tom
Yeah.
King, I've never liked the book that he's written. So
Okay.
it's good that you can figure you can find something. Maybe one day he'll write something I'll like.
Yeah, Batman #1 was pretty good.
Yeah.
I disagree, but that like I said, each your own.
All right. So Local Man is what is your pick? I do one thing I do like about Local Man, and I did read part of it. I didn't find it as compelling as you, but I did appreciate it. Um, it mostly I would read more of it. I just I'm backlogged. It's a good book that hasn't been so good that it's been able to penetrate my procrastination for reading books. Let's put it that way. Uh, it's definitely a book I wouldn't mind finishing. I just have other good books that I'm into that I haven't finished either.
Once Firepower is done, read it.
Yeah, yeah. I will. I'm not opposed to revisiting it. Like let's just say I can't hype it too much because obviously I haven't totally dived into it either. What I do want to say, one thing I really appreciate is this series kind of like appreciation of comics. Like it's almost like an inside baseball comic about like it's almost like a satire of comic heroes, and I like that it uses a lot of these throwback covers or homage covers to
Yeah,
you know
it's a flip,
to
dude. It's a
to
flip book.
to point at like comic lore and our fandom and get our nostalgia, but also because that's what the comic is kind of doing. It's kind of being a satire of these, and I don't know. I think that's neat. Like if you're a comic fan and you get the satire and you enjoy it, to have the covers, it's like the whole package. So I think that's Tony
It's
Fleeks because he did that with his Stray Dogs books as
it's
well.
the best way to describe it. It's
Oh
like
yeah, he did. Yeah.
best way to describe it. They saw what Manufacturing was trying to do with Hawkeye, and they realized you can't do that with Hawkeye because Hawkeye's established as being one thing, and you're running him on a character. So they
Yeah.
took the humor and added it to Local Man with the original character, and it works.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
All right. Local Man is the RDV surprise pick of 2023. Zach, do you have a surprise hit of 2023?
I do have a surprise hit. It surprised me for two reasons. First of all, I did not think that this is the kind of thing that we would see anymore. It was kind of bigger with Marvel, I think, back in the 70s and such. But and then I also didn't expect that this story would actually be good and entertaining. But my surprise hit is Godzilla versus King Kong versus the Justice League. Uh, Back in the day, Marvel did a bunch of Godzilla comic books, and very big. A lot of Godzilla fans like those back then. And I did not think we were at the point. I know Godzilla's had like IDW. He's got like some independent books out right now. I just didn't think that we would see him get licensed by DC. And then I also didn't think we'd have a Justice League related book because DC stupidly said we're not going to have a Justice League for a while. And then I mean, biggest thing is I didn't think it would actually be an enjoyable book. But it has been. It's not deep. It's not, Brubaker or Jonathan Hickman, but it's what you want from a Godzilla movie or a King Kong movie. You wanted an enjoyable monster film with a lot of action, a lot of spectacle to it, and it's been a really fun book. It's one that I'm one of those books where whenever I go pick it up on New Comic Book Day, it's one of those books where I'm like genuinely excited to pick it up and like almost have a smile as I get it from my pull box. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to finish more, see how it ends.
So I did get to read the first issue of this, and I thought it was pretty fun. Wasn't my thing particularly. I'm very glad that that it's continuing on and being good, and everyone that's into this book seems to think really highly of it. So I'm glad that that's the case. I know you're kind of a sucker for kaiju as well. So
I'm a big
you got the Justice
dude,
League and kaiju. It's like sign you up.
It's been a really good year, or a really good couple months to be a Godzilla kaiju fan.
One thing that I did appreciate about the first issue when I was reading it is I was like, this just feels like old school classic DC. Like they're not trying to. It didn't. I'm so glad it wasn't like modern DC put it. Like I just like, oh, this is kind of what we wanted the whole time. Like I don't necessarily need the Godzilla. Just give me these classic characters just being the Justice League again. Like, but so yeah. A good fun thing. I'm typically not a big fan of mashup stuff, but for some reason when it's superheroes, sometimes I get like it. I give it a pass. Like I really enjoyed like the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought that was a good crossover. I think Justice League versus Kaiju, like Godzilla and Kong, that makes sense. So that sort of stuff. I liked when they did a couple years back. They did the Justice League with Black Hammer.
I remember that.
They've done Justice League Power Rangers. Those type of things, like I think they mix well, or at least have good potential. So I think this is the kind of thing you can do in comics.
It's one of those things like when you're a kid and you're thinking like, okay, who wins, Superman or Goku, or Superman Godzilla? It's always fun to see something like that actually manifest and see it in a comic.
Right. All right. Did you read this book at all, Venkman? He's muted. He's off doing Venkman stuff we don't even want to know about.
I'd really be surprised. I think he is. I'd be surprised if he's not reading it.
So Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Get it in your local comic book shop. My biggest surprise hit of 2023 was, I thought this was what your pick was going to be, actually, because everything you were describing, I was like, oh, is he going to pick? Is also something that was much bigger in the 70s that Marvel and DC kind of abandoned, and so it's something that hasn't really been big in comics for a long time, and it's something that I've never given two shits about in the world of comics. I do appreciate it in other mediums, especially movies, but it's the Enfield Gang Massacre is my surprise hit of 2023. This is a comic I never saw coming. It's not even fully complete yet, but it's.
I know it's still going too. I thought it was going to end at 5 issues. But
yeah, there's at least. It looks like there's one more issue. I love. This has nothing to do with really the quality of the comic. I'm just going to say that I love it though. It's all 6 issues are one continuous cover, so you can put them side by side. Neat. You don't need to spend extra.
Variant.
Right, you don't need to spend extra money on a variant or chase like anything. It's just the normal covers. They all connect, and I think that's really neat. I gotta say, I'm not even a big fan. Like it's one of these weird things. I look at the cover and I go, yeah, this cover doesn't really grab me. But once I read the book, I feel like, oh, it's so perfectly fitting. Like it just feels right. But it also is not something that would win me over. It's like I only like it because I already like the book and I get it. This is a complete package from start to finish. Um, I think Chris Condon has matured as a writer. I do have the entire That Texas Blood series that this is kind of spawned from, and that's a good series, but it's just good. This book is great. This is like what Chris Condon is like born to do. Like it's just the next level thing. I don't know if it's because he's just, like I said, he's because he's matured as a writer. He's just getting better. I don't know. Maybe he put a lot of research and effort into this. It seems really polished. Jacob Phillips is doing his best artwork that I've ever seen, which is also the same artist on That Texas Blood. If you look at the very beginning of that run, you can see his artwork's a lot more amateurish, so he's definitely just improving over time. I don't necessarily care about westerns and comics, but this one, it has it all. The writing, when I read it, I feel like the dialogue is just superb and inspired. The art, the coloring, down to the fake advertisements in the book, down to the back of the book has these, like, this article from this magazine, this Texas, like, Western magazine that's about Western history that he got this, that he's printing like in there. It's just all these little details that help you understand, learning about the actual history of the real Infield gang, and knowing about how like history doesn't have all the pieces. We only really know what the historians account for, and we can't even always trust that the historians are even 100% accurate. Sometimes they do guesswork, and so Chris talks about how it's like he thinks he's got reason to believe that these certain accounts aren't actually what really happened, so he's presenting a different story, not because he's imagining that, but because he legitimately believes it's more likely it played out this way. Obviously, he's doing a fictitious dramatization of it, so there's got to be some artistic liberty in here, but it's just a whole fascinating work. It plays out like a work of fiction. I'm super enthralled in it. I love these characters. It just feels good to read it. The quality of the book is superb, down to the quality of the paper, everything. 100%. This and Eric Breen, I don't know if he's still in the chat anymore, but yeah, it's because of him. He's the one that I was like, all right, and it's my surprise hit of the year. So if you guys haven't tried it, there you go. Ryan King, no, sorry, Undead Quinn, he submits his surprise hit of the year is Salma by Becky Cloonan with Tula Lote. I'm assuming that's your
Oh yeah,
submission.
I heard about that one. That's that new Distillery imprint. It's like a big magazine size comic. It's yeah, I remember hearing about that one. I
Yeah,
haven't read it yet.
Chris Condon, I was looking up. I'm like, I know it before he wrote this in Attack Texas Blood. 2022, he took part of that Crypt of Shadows Marvel book. That was the anthology book, and he wrote the House of Blood, Human Torch, Spider-Man story in there. He's been doing quite a few stuff. He also took part in the Harley Quinn Black, White, and Redder came out this year, and also did a book for Oni Press called Xeno, XINO. So he's been doing quite a few books. He's got a new one coming out this year for Oni Press called Night People.
Hmm.
But
Hopefully he'll continue with more of that Texas Blood stuff. I was kind of disappointed. I thought the series kind of got canceled because number 20 was the last issue, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then this book
yeah,
came out, and I was like, "Oh, I would love to see like more like tales from Texas and just keep it into that Texas Blood imprint. Like, doesn't have to be continuing the same exact characters even, but I liked what he was doing. It was a very unique space. That Texas Blood. It was like the mix of a cowboy western, but set in a modern
yeah.
setting, and like no one
I'm
else is
looking.
doing stories like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at his book called Night People. It kind of reminds me of Criminal a little bit.
Yeah, well, that Texas Blood is kind of like that too.
Yeah, four interlocking stories. Yep.
So Somna looked interesting. I do like the cover quite a bit here.
Tula Lloyd. I actually like her her art style. She did a book with Scott Snyder. I think it was an Amazon or a Comixology exclusive.
Yeah, it wasn't like Barnstormers or something like that.
That's it, Barnstormers. Yeah,
which is available for free on Comixology right now.
Is it
Yes, it
free now?
is.
Oh
Well,
shoot!
it's unlimited. All of
Yeah.
his stuff on it was a Comixology Unlimited original.
Oh nice.
The reason I didn't try this at all or anything is because this format is like the super prestigious magazine format, so it's oversized, which is cool for reading. You get the nice big oversized. It's thick. It's high quality. It's $8.99 per book, which is for me it's like a big ask for
Yeah.
something it's not proven. Like if Ed Brubaker released this, like I'd be like, boom, let's, but he's already won me. I'm not like Becky Cloonan hasn't won me. I'm not saying
Chris Condon.
I was gonna say it's not like I know that this is good or bad. Like I just don't know. And for $8.99, I feel like it's a little bit riskier. But Undead Quinn, his tastes do seem to coincide with a lot of my own. A lot of the stuff that I recognize that no one else seems to like. Undead Quinn is like into it as well. So maybe this is something I need to check out.
When it comes to Brubaker, his books are through Image. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to the same Christmas parties, and he might be a fan of Brubaker himself. So they probably gives him tips and probably for around writing stuff. Wouldn't be shocked.
Oh,
so that's why
I would not doubt it. I mean, his artist, Jacob Phillips, is the son. Is the son of Sean Phillips, and is also the colorist for all the criminal books. So Jacob Phillips, so they're probably all friends, and
Chris Condon's at the Christmas party with them.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So I mean, I'm excited to read more of that Texas Blood because I only read like partial of the issue, but maybe because I was reading it and I got distracted by something else and then I never got back to it.
I will warn people that do try that Texas Blood. It is slower. Like it's a much slower burn than like the criminal books. I think Ed Brubaker gets to the point quicker. Chris Condon, at least in that Texas Blood, much more slow burn. In Enfield Gang Massacre, I feel like he sped things up and his pacing became quicker, and that might just be an evolution of his writing style or what, I don't know, but just be warned. So if you get into that, it's not going to be quick. It's going to be one of these long drawn out dramas. Have you seen that movie? Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. It had a I don't even know why I brought this up because I can't remember anything. But it reminds me of that Texas Blood. It was a real popular movie. It had Chris Pine.
No Country for Old Men.
Oh man, Skip would have loved the Xeno book. People are describing it as being a competition for Ice Cream Man. Chris Condon book. There's 3 issues. Basically, the first comment I'm reading on this is like if it's Ice Cream with a serious competition. If this is an ongoing that hit the level of quality each time. Anthology, vaguely technically sci-fi stories, 4 stories, both so.
Okay, the movie is called Hell or High Water from 2016.
I've seen that one.
Oh, that one, yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Anyone who's seen Hell or High Water, that's the closest I can think of a movie that's like I would compare that Texas Blood. It's kind of a similar feel and a similar pacing. Right? Chris Pine,
yeah.
I always think of like No Country for Old Men or There Will Be Blood. I always think of those two when I hear of this Texas Blood.
Okay.
But
all right. No one else is submitting their surprises. I guess they didn't have any, so we'll move on.
Nobody was surprised. Everybody knew exactly what was coming out this year.
Yeah.
We gotta realize that when you're in the comic book channel stuff, a lot of your readers do not read comic books, at least modern.
It's all right.
I've discovered that, and that's their choice. So it's like I ask for feedback. I get one guy in the comment section every week. And it says like, this is my list, and honestly, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You don't have to submit. I like to know what other people are.
9, you must submit.
All right, so the
Do
next
it now.
topic is going to be biggest disappointment of
This channel.
2023.
It was this channel. We lost Ash Wednesdays.
Sad.
So,
Just laughed at that.
first we lost the Lala Boys, then we lost Ash Wednesdays.
Those are really hard to do when you only have like one book that you bought.
That's fair.
So, biggest disappointment in 2023. Now, this doesn't have to be like the worst book of 2023. That's not at all what the topic is meant to reflect, but it more of you had certain expectations of it and it just failed to deliver what you either hoped or thought it could be. Somehow it disappointed you in a way that was more meaningful than other. I mean, most books, if you like read that you just know it's going to be mid and then you read it and it's not that good, you're like, well, I didn't expect too much, so no big deal. Sometimes the biggest disappointments are the things where you're like, oh, this should have been amazing and it really let me down. But whatever. However you want to interpret that. Venkman, what was your biggest disappointment of 2023?
Come back to me. I only read banger books, bro.
I'm back to you. I gave you this list hours ago. All right.
You gave it to me like but an hour before, or just pretty late, and I was on hosting another live stream. I would say
I'll come back to you. Zach?
I got one. I just thought of one.
All right.
The Lanzing Kelly Captain America series. It started out good, and then it went this mediocre. So.
All right. Lansing Kelly Captain America series that no one even remembers anymore.
I remember parts of it.
I'm not even going to look that one up because I'll be searching Captain America series all night. Like
Zach
Don't
Zach lasted longer on that series than I did. He kept going with it.
That's
Yes.
true. I told you I don't quit stuff halfway through. I quit right before it ends.
Yeah. Zach, what was your
Yes.
biggest disappointment of 2023?
Let me tell you, and as soon as I say this, RDV is gonna be like, I want that to be my answer. It was the switcheroo of taking Jeremy Adams off of Flash and replacing him with Cy Spurrier.
Oh.
Oh, I thought we were talking about like comic books. So
It is a comic book. I mean,
they're two different series though. There's a Flash.
Well,
and there's
I think
Flash.
what he's saying is his biggest disappointment was Flash.
Yeah.
When it lost Jeremy Adams,
yeah.
it became a huge disappointment book.
Yes.
It
Well,
sucked.
just the announcement that DC was going to take him off and replace him. And I didn't have an opinion of Cy Spurrier at the time. I hadn't read anything by him, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. But
I was
the whole, you passed. You said come back to me.
I want to explain because Ash was kind of like summarized what I wrong. Like I said, I answered the question wrong then because I based on what a book I bought and it turned out to be something that I didn't like. What he's answering question.
Flash would be that way. I mean, he was buying Flash, he liked it, and
Flash,
then 1 month he bought Flash and was like, "What the hell is this?" without Jeremy Adams, this sucks.
That's different because you knew Flash because it was ending. It ended, and then it come back for a couple months. So.
Okay. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying. After you hijacked my answer.
Well, I just want to explain why I answered that way then, because
Well, it's okay. We can come back to you now. Now that you know the parameters.
You can modify your answer if you want. That's fine.
Yeah.
Change my answer.
You can get a do-over. Yeah, no, that was just a huge disappointment. Because his run was getting all kinds of acclaim. People were loving it. The Flash was a character who has not had a bad run. Flash has had a consistently good run since, I mean, what was it? Maybe New 52.
What are you talking about? Flash was the most consistently good run during Rebirth.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, New 52 up through Rebirth, and then through Jeremy Adams, and then where we are now.
Oh, I
I
thought you
think I
meant he
think
hadn't had one since New 52.
No. He has. He has
Oh,
been
okay,
one of the
okay.
best ones.
Okay.
Josh Williamson was mid, and then it peaked, got
What
better.
are you
Oh,
talking
They're
about?
whatever.
good.
Josh Williamson is not. You got to get a new word for your vocabulary. You keep saying stuff as mid. Josh Williamson's was great. Uh, anyway, I digress though. Yeah, and then just replacing him with Cy Spurrier just seems like such a weird choice. I mean, because after looking into him and like reading about him, like he does like I know he did like some Constantine. He's done more like cosmic horror stuff. It's just such a weird thing to do because the Flash doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Especially going off of Jeremy Adams' run, where his Flash was much more lighthearted, family friendly, speed stuff. It's just not at all like what Cy Spurrier's normal MO is. So yeah, for that
And Cy
reason,
Spurrier is known for coming in to a popular series that other people made popular, coming in and killing it. Like, and
yeah,
I don't mean killing it like, oh, they killed it like a good way. Like, they
right,
killed it, like, made it dead. Like,
right.
I don't know anyone like his Hellblazer stuff. It just, or Constantine or whichever they were calling it at the time. Like, I think no one cared about Constantine after that. It was just seriously like dead. After Scott Snyder's run on Justice League, which I think was one of the most underrated, undervalued things when Scott Snyder was doing. I liked it even better than his Batman.
I agree.
Um, and then they were bringing Bendis over, so like Scott Snyder leaves, and they had this like fill-in period. They put and Spurrier gets on this and just shits the bed like Amber Heard style. It just is like it makes no one care about the story. I don't know if that was a plant to make Bendis seem better when he got on. I don't know, but like every time it's like putting Cy Spurrier on. Has the guy ever done any single comic? I'm not even talking about a great comic.
Uh,
Has he done even a single comic where people can point to and say, yeah, that was actually pretty good? Like I don't know a
I
single book that guy's done that anyone has cared about. He just
I
kills
refuse to
things.
call him Cy Spurrier. It's a stupid nickname. His name's Simon Spurrier. I don't know
Yeah, but
why
he
they.
goes by Cy. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's his
you know what?
nickname.
I honestly, it's perfect for him because when we hear his name on a book, he's Cy.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I guess that's good. I just don't understand why that guy keeps getting jobs because he I can't think of a single time where he's ever elevated a book. Where he's come on and the book actually started doing better. Like
I think what it is, I've heard Wes or Perch, one of the two have said this, where people may not be the best at what they do, but they get stuff turned in on time, or like they're easier to work with than other people. So people are just like, oh yeah, Cy's real nice to work with. He's always polite. He gets his stuff in before deadline, and I think it might be something like that.
it could be, but it also
Yeah,
every book he gets on immediately dies.
yeah. There's that too. There
So
needs
like
to
it's
be a
maybe put
balance
him on a
to it.
book that doesn't matter. Like putting
Yeah,
him on high profile books like The Flash, which like you pointed out is like consistently good since New 52.
yeah.
Like
Wasn't
why
like
would you do
Superman
this?
where you had like a high with Tomasi and then you had a low with Bendis. It wasn't like Batman where you had high, like it was consistently good. There was
Yeah.
no peaks and valleys.
Yeah, put him on a book that like no one's been caring about or it's been off and on kind of meh, just whatever. It's like, "Oh, hey, Cy, you want to write Nightwing? It's been crap for ages." Like I, at least and I'm not trying to make the Nightwing fans angry. My point is that Nightwing wasn't doing well and had lots of bad people attached to it. At that point, Cy can't
Had
do a lot of damage. Whereas a book like Flash, you had this long run of like solid, like let's not fix what ain't broken. Like you don't put him on that. Don't put him on Justice League, like one of your premier books. Like what are you doing? Um, yeah, I mean, I would much rather just have someone great on Nightwing, but anyways, I digress. My biggest disappointment of the year, forgive me, my biggest disappointment of 2023 is Firepower.
what?
Yep.
I'm shocked.
I'm not angry
leaving the
about
s-
it.
I'm leaving the stream now. Bye,
Now,
guys.
it's not because I think Firepower is a terrible book. It's not. But Firepower was consistently the mac and cheese of comic books. Skip and I would talk about this, how it was like the equivalent of comfort food. Every month you got your issue and you just knew not necessarily it was going to be the best, but you were just going to have a nice, good little time and it wasn't going to displease you and put maybe a little smile on your face. And then that's fine. You could just rely on it. And then a couple of issues ago, after learning that the book was coming to an end, we got that famous issue or infamous issue where it was just all single page spreads of what appeared to be like 30 issues, or yeah, about 30 issues of comics. Essentially what it was like every single page was like the equivalent of a comic that should have been, but because we weren't getting a 60 issue run of Firepower and was having to be canceled, Kirkman was just basically, oh, here's the outline of what I was going to do and cram it all in there and like literally had the gigantic villain and the gigantic menace, which is the dragon, which was the plot point of most of the series. If you remember, it was like we go back to the early days about being at the temple and all this stuff, and it's like, what's this dragon? I remember we would do our streams and talk about the comic and have theory crafting and be like, well, maybe the dragon is just the power. Like we didn't even know if the dragon was a real thing, and da 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 da. We finally get the dragon and all this stuff, and do we get some climactic resolution to it? No, it's all done on a single panel. Are you kidding me? Are you Look, Robert Kirkman, I get that the comic you can't subsidize it for 30 more issues. If it doesn't have the sales, it doesn't have the sales, it needs to be canceled. But you could at least give us a couple of issues, right, of resolution. This to me is like the more egregious than what people accuse Game of Thrones final season, where people like, oh, they just rushed the ending with the Night King and all da da da. This was way more egregious than that, in my opinion. And I'm not super angry because I understand the needs of the business and all that stuff. And I don't even hate the book. The book didn't suddenly become trash, but it went from like a 9 out of 10 comic to like 5 or 6 out of 10. And it's just one of those things. It's like I hold it in such high esteem that it has the potential of letting me down. I'm going to continue it. There's one more issue coming out in January. I'm going to get it. And overall, I'm going to have a positive view of Firepower. But man, it's like I'm always going to have that what could it have been feeling. So I can't help but be disappointed.
That was a good one. That is a good disappointment. Not good as in good,
Right.
but
I hear what you're saying.
yeah.
Undead Quinn has a good one. His big disappointment 2023 was Dynamite's Gargoyles.
Oh, I remember being excited about that
I'm
too.
surprised that wasn't RDV's pick, actually. I think he's a big Gargoyles fan.
Yeah, because we were both pretty excited about that when
I got the
when those
first
came.
4 issues.
So you actually stuck with that longer than I did. I didn't stick
Yeah.
with it that long.
3 or 4. I can't remember how many it was. But it features the artist who we didn't like on that John Carter Warlord of Mars crap book.
Yeah, that's the I remember. Yeah.
And like so I was trying to think of when did Tini Howard take over? That's 2022. But these, I'd say overall the biggest disappointment in comic book industry whatsoever was the whole Jeremy Adams being bumped off. But it's a blessing though, in a shitty way, because now he's on Green Lantern. He's writing a Jay Garrick book, and she's just showing how great he is. The guy can adapt.
He is very adaptable. That is true.
He's running it. I mean, honestly, he's my choice for a JSA if they continue it.
So Tehillim in the chat is saying that Jeremy Adams is returning to Flash, but He's been
Yeah,
questioned
I
about this, and we're not getting an answer. So Tehillim,
yeah,
you owe us
He
an
is
answer. You can't just throw things out there like that and then go
you are
silent.
fake news. You
he
are
is look he is writing Flash Gordon
what?
later this year. Yeah, there's a
Oh.
Flash Gordon comic. I think it's coming through Dynamite. It might be somebody else, but there is a Flash Gordon comic that he is writing.
Oh,
So
that
I
might be.
wonder if that might be what he's referring to.
Could
He's
be.
also writing the Jay Garrick Flash, the older Flash. He is writing that also.
Oh,
Well, he's been
okay.
writing that for a while now.
I know it's actually going on longer than I thought it would. I thought it was going to be like 4 issues and done.
Is it 3 issues?
No, it's been like 4 issues so far. I think it's going for like 6 more or something. Not 6 more, but I mean it's been going for a while.
All right. So, it's again, Undead Quinn's the only one participating. I'm really sad
Why
for
y'all
you
letting
guys.
Undead Quinn win? Come on,
Yeah.
Rhaegar. You must have some thoughts.
No, I gotta say the Jake Garrick. First of all, the Jake Garrick thing is only a 6-issue limited series, but Undead Quinn is also one of our loyal viewers over on the Geeky Puppet Show who does participate in the top 5. We do appreciate him.
That's true. He's one
Um,
of the only ones who does.
so appreciate that though. Like I just want to know. I just like to hear what other people value their other opinions. Going on to our next topic, we're going to go to Writer of the Year. Again, this is
Uh,
really all about our
this one-
favorites. We're being very subjective. This is not meant to be objective criticism. I know there's probably books that are super well written that either I haven't read or it's not my cup of tea. This is about who is the writer of the year for us that just pleased us the most. That gave us not just
this
necessarily
one's
one
difficult.
story, but just managed to be the one person who overall their combined works for the year uh, just made them the standout for us. Do you want to go first again, RDB, or do you need some time?
Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams is your writer of the year, huh?
Yeah, the year man, he's proven. Like I said, he started off with Flash at the beginning of the year, and ended it in June or something, or July. And then he went on to Green Lantern, proved he could write that. Then he started taking on Jay Garrick Flash, and proved that he can write JSA characters. The guy is an overall nice person, as it is. He's just like your comic book hero that you'd want to meet.
Very good. All right, I knew you were a big fan of him. I wasn't quite sure that
Yeah.
his work of 2023 was going to be your top, but I guess it is. What about you, Zach?
Oh, this one was tough for me, man. This was really tough. I had 2 names, and I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna go with the one that I'm. Man,
Breen.
wait, what's that?
No, Breen. I can't go with Brugger every year, so Chris Condon.
No, Brubaker. I didn't read enough by Brubaker to even have him in the running this year. I mean, I feel like saying this one is kind of cheating because he's been brought up a lot recently, not necessarily for his writing, but for other reasons. But I'm gonna say Mark Millar. He had first of all, he had a very big year. He had what four series came out this year. He
Mhm.
had Nemesis, Nightclub, Ambassadors, and then Big Game.
Yep.
So he had these 4, 5, or 6 issue stories all coming out in the same year. Every one of them was a banger. From what I could tell, I didn't read all of Nemesis, but I mean, all the other ones that I read were
You
just.
didn't read all of Nemesis?
I only had so much time and money, Ash. It's on the to-do list though. But
Oh. Well, the problem though,
I
the reason I say that is because it directly connects to Big Game. Like,
yes,
and
yes,
so
yes. I
you've kind of had the whole point of that book spoiled. So you're not gonna.
it's
It's unfortunate, is all.
it's well after the fact. I'm not devastated. I'm not like crushed by it or anything. But
All right.
yeah, no, he had just a banner year. I mean, just all these different stuff. He's talking about plans he has down the road. What he ended up doing with Big Game, I thought was phenomenal. More on that later. But yeah, Mark Millar is. I'm gonna put him down for writer, and then also just like RDD was saying with Jeremy Adams, just really nice guy. You see him interact with people on social media or on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and he's just he's the type of person I imagine if he was at a convention would just be getting a lot of love, and a lot of people would just want to meet him, shake his hand, stuff like that. So good writer, also just overall appears to be a really good person. So that's why he wins writer of the year for me.
All right. Well, my pick for 2023 Writer of the Year is also Mark Millar. Um, not necessarily because he wrote the best things of the year, but like you mentioned, he had 4 different books, all of which were varying levels of success. I was very surprised at Nightclub, which I kind of expected to be kind of a throwaway series because it was like $1.99, and I thought, oh, this is kind of a gimmick, which I was going to support because I thought it was a good gimmick. But I didn't expect it to be like, but it was actually probably my second favorite of all the books he did this year, So I was like, wow. He's just, been building this universe, and Big Game was just a remarkable kind of top off to these, the way he made everything connect. And I didn't even consider his off his extracurricular behavior, we'll say, in when I was thinking about this, but everything you said is right on. Like, yeah, like his behavior, just like supporting comics and things like that, and just how his professionalism, all these things, I didn't consider those in the category, but they only lend to it. I hope that 2024 is even a better year for Mark Millar, because if it is, fans are going to win. I just think what he's doing is fantastic, and we just need more of that. And we need that to succeed so that other people will emulate that and say, oh, that's what works. That's what people do. Let's all do that too. And if you can do it better than Mark Millar, fans win again. So, bravo, Mark. Really, just, yeah, you're my writer of the year. Let's see what the chat has. You already mentioned Eric Breen as Chris Condon. Simply says he can't give it to Brubaker every year. I haven't read the new Brubaker book, so I can't even consider it. It's difficult, anyways, even if I did, to be like at the last minute. Here he's got, you know. But yeah, Brubaker is definitely deserves mention every year, as long as he's writing something.
Yeah,
Marania comes in. Sorry, hold on. Marania's coming back. I guess she was a little behind, and so I'm gonna catch her up. She says her biggest disappointment of 2023 was I Am Iron Man. That was her biggest disappointment. Her surprise book was Gary Duggan's Iron Man, and that's a definite surprise. I would not expect that. So, there we go. But she did not say Writer of the Year. Let's see. Undead Quinn says that Jeff Lemire is his Writer of the Year, and due to the reasoning is because he had a lot of high rated books. Jeff Lemire is a fantastic writer. Sometimes, he's one of these writers who I've really loved. I've loved his Ascender Descender series. But then there's just sometimes, I wouldn't ever say he's bad. There's just times where I'm like, oh, it was all right. But then there's times where I'm like, oh, this was really good. So I always give Lemire a chance if I can. Sometimes it's hard to get past the art because he likes to draw. So like Sweet Tooth, I was like, oh, I don't read Sweet Tooth because they're doing a Netflix series. And then I flipped through the book and I was like, ugh. So I didn't even give it a chance. It could have been amazing, and maybe it is because they did adapt it. So there's probably something worthy of it. But some of these writers, it's like, come on, this is a visual medium. Like, your writing alone doesn't carry it. And if you think it does, write a novel. Like, anyways.
There are exceptions to that. Torrent is one of them. Blood Tree is another.
No, I stopped buying Blood
Tree
Tree
was bad.
because of the
Blood
art.
Tree yeah, Blood Tree was not great art. Blood Tree made me stop wanting to read it because the art was that bad.
Yeah, I did stop
wanted
reading
it to be good because I love a good murder mystery procedural, but nah. Sorry, Tomasi, you got to get better writers to work with.
I agree. Yeah, I do agree. It is a better artist, but After a while, I didn't care. Art didn't bother me. It was the storytelling.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. I'll remember that next time. What's his name does the art on a book, and I've drawn a blank.
Rory Rosmo?
Riley Rossmo. Yeah.
Hey, Sandman. Sandman's pretty good.
Sandman has been pretty good though. I've been liking Wesley Dodd's Sandman. And that's Rossmo.
Let's see.
Because it fits the art. The art fits the story.
Eric says, I guess Chris Condon didn't write enough to be writer of the year, so I guess I'll go with Mark Millar. No, you can say Chris Condon was writer of the year. I mean, he wrote
No,
5 books out of the year. And he also wrote
Brubaker Award.
That's also he wrote Texas Blood books. I mean,
I know, that's why I said he can't.
Chris Condon gets the Brubaker Award. What?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
All right. Jeff Lemire has a certain style not everyone likes.
Helium still hasn't backed up his claims. I think he's trolling.
Yes. Undead Quinn, I agree. But I think one of the things about Jeff Lemire is that he's got multiple styles. Because his style of writing for Ascender and Descender was way different than what was that horror book series he did with Andre Sorrentino? Something Falls, Gideon Falls, real popular series.
Gravity Falls?
No, it's called Gideon Falls. It was a horror series. Real popular series. People loved it. If you did not know that the writer was the same writer, if you read Ascender, Descender, and Gideon Falls, you would not know it was the same writer. So, but yeah. Did that Texas Blood have any issues in 23? That's a good question, Eric Breen. If so, it was early in the year because it stopped at issue 20. I don't know if it's on hiatus or if it's over or what, but I don't remember when issue 20 was. But I think that might have been. But regardless, you can change. Anyone can change their picks. If someone comes up with something like nothing's set in stone until the stream ends, then it's set in stone. Undead Quinn says honorable mention to Rick Remender was the second pick. Not quite as much as Lemire apparently though.
I had Josh Williamson was my. If it wasn't Mark Millar, it would have been Williamson for me. He would have been my runner-up.
Okay.
Because he had, I mean, that dude's been juggling multiple series, and as far as I can tell, they've all been pretty good. Pretty good at worst, phenomenal at best.
So the last issue of the Texas Blood came out December 7th of 2022.
Okay. It's about a year ago. Now we're going to get into a category where Jeff Lemire absolutely will not win, and that is Artist of the Year 2023. This is again same conditions. Artist of the Year is not necessarily the single best art you saw, although it can be. I mean, you can pick it, but overall, like for the year of 2023, the artist that just had the biggest impact on you.
Guy created Avatar.
Combined works, you know. So take it as what you will. That's how I'm defining it for myself. The artist that just had the biggest impact on me. So I guess I'll go first since I haven't gone first yet. And my pick is going to be Pepe Larraz. And
nice.
Gary from Neurotic.
Almost Gary from what?
He looks like Gary from Nerdrotic.
He does. I've never seen him. I've never seen him.
Yeah, if you look at his profile picture on like League of Comic Geeks, or you just Google him, like image search, he's got the beard and the glasses and everything.
Oh,
it's actually very uncanny.
It's kind of like the Daniel Bryan thing. Everyone does him now. I noticed that. Wrestling.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I typically don't look at comic creators. I sometimes a little bit more now because League of Comic Geeks shows like thumbnails of people, but I've never cared. It's funny how like decades went by and there were certain creators that were black. I didn't even know. I was just like, and then I would get accused of being like, "Oh, you're just racist." I'm like, no, I had no idea. Like, I just didn't care. I saw a name.
Oh.
If the book was good, I looked at a name and said that name is associated with this work. But it's just funny. Like, I don't pay attention. Anyways, I was trying to get, I want to show off, and I'm not prepared. Sorry about this.
It happens.
Were you Singleton?
Singleton. That doesn't make me feel
Wow,
better.
Just throw E under the bus.
He's under the bridge. Can't throw him under the bus.
That's true.
Um,
Good point.
Eric, that artist you're thinking of for Lord of the Jungle is Benito Gallego. Or Gallego.
Oh yeah, that guy that looked like, what was it, John Buscema? Is that the
Well,
artist that he thought?
he did a number 1, but then Robert Delatorre.
Robert Delatorre, yeah.
Did some cover art. I think he took over series actually.
So this isn't on their screen, but I'll catch up. This Pepe Larraz's artwork in Big Game took an already phenomenal event. He's already was a standout artist that I became aware of from the House of X, Powers of X series, but just was like a whole new level for in this book. This was everything that I love about comic art. It had a lot, had all the action, the how do I say, like visceral, kinetic feeling that you, it's difficult to capture in still images. The composition, the layouts, the beautiful coloring, which I'm not really sure I can credit to him. Just the angles of how he is approaching different scenes visually, just eye-catching, to be able to draw machinery in not just a way that looks accurate, but also captures your imagination. Like, it just, me, like the little boy geek in me looks at this like catamaran carrier, and I'm just like, oh, it's so cool looking. Just everything. Like, this is like, I can't imagine this comic book being as good as it was without Pepe Larraz's art. It's like, it would have been a shame. It absolutely was detrimental, mind-blowing. Just when I flip open a comic, I'm like, this is exactly, I can't imagine it being better. That was the thing. Like, there was never a moment where I was like, if this other guy had drawn it, it might have been like, this is just perfect in every single way, zero complaints. And
the facial expressions we did for that girl, the girl from the Magic Order you just shown, it looked realistic.
Yeah, everything. Just this is what I came to comics originally, fell in love with comics as an X-Men fan. I've said it over and over again, but I had some of the top artists. Rick Leonardi was one of my early artists that I fell in love with because I was that. But then shortly thereafter, Mark Silvestri came on. He's one of the top artists. Then I got Jim Lee, and art was always like the solid foundation. X-Men had great writing with Chris Claremont, obviously, but I became very spoiled. I became very much I don't know if entitled is the right word, but that's maybe why I'm a comic snob, is because I expect not just good writing, but I expect the art to be fantastic. And this is what this book made me remember. Like, yes, this is what every comic should aspire to be. A perfect blend of the fantastic, imaginative superhero fantasy with the art that just mesmerizes. And so, anyways, I've talked enough about this. Pepe Larraz is my pick for artist of 2023. Zach, you want to go second?
Sure, I'll go second. Mine, Pepe Larraz is a brilliant artist. The only reason he is not mine is because we only got, what was it, like five issues?
Sure.
This Big Game, 5 or 6 issues. My favorite artist, I've been following him for close to 30 issues now. On one series, he's done some covers and stuff that I've really liked.
Just remember though, you got to count 2023.
I know.
It's not fair if you give him 21 and 22 as well.
No. But this year, you actually alluded to him a little earlier. Chris Samney though
Oh,
is
okay.
is my number one artist for 2023. Uh, Firepower, obviously, like you just brought up, Firepower has been a very big comic series for me. There was some disappointment with it, like you had talked about, but I've still enjoyed it. Seeing his art, his line work, the way he draws his characters, the action scenes. Matt Wilson, he gets normally to work with them doing the coloring. It's always just really great to look at. I love every page if it's something action or a fight or if it's just characters talking. There's just something about his pages and his layouts. It's just always really, really fun to look at and just take in. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be really bummed when Firepower ends, but whatever it is that he works on next, that's what I'm gonna be following. I'm definitely gonna be following his career for a while.
And to be fair, on my side, everything that I mentioned before about disappointment, Chris Samney, not part of that at all. Like,
Oh right,
there's
yeah, yeah,
no
yeah. Oh,
disappointment on my
absolutely.
side of Chris Samney. I think the guy has been doing stellar work on the book,
He
so
really
that's a good
has. Yeah,
pick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right. It looks like as Breen taking off, hitting the hay. All right, Breen. Have a good night, my friend. Um, let's see. Venkman, what was your artist of 2023?
Dan Mora still going strong.
Dan
No
Mora.
matter what book, no matter what he's been on World's Finest for most of the year. He is also was working on Power Rangers TNT crossover. Did that. No matter what character he's drawing from what company, the guy is just phenomenal. And as far as I know, he's never late on his books. But the way the detail he puts into it looks like it would take me like 2 years just to finish one. It's like it's just a I just love him. He's been one of my favorite artists since I discovered him in 2019. So it's great whenever I see him drawing Batman, Superman, and stuff. It's just
Mhm.
fun.
Apologize
As
for
much
not
as I love,
having any Dan Mora books up to show right now, but
it's okay. But as much as I love Gary Frank, he's awesome too. Uh, Eric brought up Benito Gallego, guy who worked for Gallego or Lord of the Jungle, who captures that John Buscema lurk. He's another runner-up, and then you got Robert Del Torre, who worked on Conan the Barbarian this year for Titan. A lot of good art, and I'm always glad when it's not all bottled in Wonder One publisher.
mm-hmm.
You know, so I have a choice to go. If I want to go to Titan, I can go to Dynamite. I can go to Dark Horse. I can go Image. I can go to DC. You know, but Dan Mora, man, he's just been solid. I just love his art.
All right. Any particular specific pieces of work that he did in 2023 that were stand out to you?
For me, it's been his work on World's Finest with Kingdom Come.
Okay. So you guys
It,
go check out that book. I think I did one. We featured like one issue of that on the show, and I got to read. And I've always liked Dan Moore. I think he's really good.
He
And that
does.
book.
He's great art.
y-
He's a
y-
great.
you what
Go
blew me
ahead.
away is you go look at the 2019 Boom Studios version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. At first, I thought they were using like Dark Horse used to do. They use photograph covers.
Mm-hmm.
No, this guy was actually drawing the interior, looking at Sarah Michelle Gellar and everybody. Like it was that great. Like I was like, holy crap! He's like, this isn't a photo still. This is the guy actually drew it, and he's drawing the interior art as well. It's like, and you could tell as soon as he jumped off at the 50th issue, it's like, what the hell happened? It just went from Dan Moore to Rossmo level. It's just like, ugh. But yeah, phenomenal art, man.
All right. Okay, so let's see what the chat say. Ronnie is mad because I bypassed apparently. I apologize, Maranya. Sometimes I don't see
But
every single line of the chat. It's difficult to run behind the scenes all the different things and
well,
see everything. But
what,
I will catch up. All you gotta do is mention it. It wasn't on purpose. Maranya does
yeah,
say her writer of the year was Jeremy Adams. I'm assuming for much of the same reasons you guys described. And her artist of the year is Gary Frank, which I'm
Maranya, you should know by now that you come in second to all of us. This is 1930 all over again. Mickey Mouse. We overlook you on purpose.
what? I don't even understand what that means. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Undead Quinn says his.
No. I was making fun of that. She always complains about being overlooked.
Oh,
We do it on purpose now.
I don't do it on
Jeez.
purpose. Undead Quinn says artist of the year is Hector Trueneck. I don't even know who that is.
I'm not familiar with Hector.
If you
Is
put an
that the-
artist in,
Is
put his
that the
book in, too.
Is that Astrobots? I'm
I
just
don't know. I
guessing.
didn't read that.
Oh, you know, it might be.
I would just say that though, if you do put it on someone, an artist or a writer, put out the book you're talking, so we can actually look at the art.
I'm not
Like-
sure. I don't.
Like,
I want a feature. I don't think League of Comic Geeks has a way to search by artist.
the name I can look up by name for writers. I mentioned you read up by artists too.
Oh, it is Astrobots. I guessed it right.
Who said that? Rhaegar?
No, that was Jay, huh?
Where's Jay in it? Got here.
Well, I
No.
know that's Jay normally.
Undead Quinn.
Jay normally. Oh, it was Undead Quinn. Oh,
oh,
okay. Sorry,
okay.
Undead Quinn.
Oh, okay. Okay, at the bottom it says Astrobots. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have digital. This is one of those books that I cannot find digital scans for.
It's a Whatnot publishing. That's why.
Yep. But this
Those are not
artist
carded either.
is really cool. He did some of the covers. Fortunately, we can see some of the variant covers. He does mechs really cool, I think. I do like this artist. I had real troubles getting this book, so I dropped off it. This is really unfortunate. You can't get it digitally, and I couldn't get it in stores. And so, I mean, I could, but I had to really kind of go out of my way. I ordered the first copy through my store. I wasn't sure how good it was going to be, so I only ordered the first copy. The second one came out. I didn't order in time. They didn't even order any copies of it. So then I couldn't get copies of it. And I was like, well, if I'm going to miss issue number 2, I'm not going to keep buying 3, 4, 5. So I just ended up dropping off the book. And I feel really bad because I really enjoyed issue number 1 and had good art. And that's just a travesty of the current industry that we live in today. And I don't know what the answer is, but it's not good. I think Astrobots is definitely worth people's attention. But at the same time, it's one of these hard to kind of get books. And if you make your books not very accessible, people aren't going to try them out. And they're not going to know what they're missing. And it's really just kind of sad. But
it's kind of like, well, you're talking about a book that was through Whatnot Publishing, which is to me is kind of like Bad Idea. Remember how
kind of like Bad Idea, but Bad Idea
I remember Bad Idea. Yeah.
Was even worse. Bad Idea like only went through 10% of the comic book stores. Like they were exclusive for exclusivity's sake. Like they really it became ridiculous, and you only could buy through these special stores, and it was just like such a. Whatnot will go through any store, as far as I'm aware. They're just a really small press, and most stores these days, because of the industry, they can't afford to just buy books blindly. They just sit on the shelves and they don't sell. And then, they're already working on super razor thin margins and going out of business. So in the old days, like when I worked in comic book stores in the 90s, we would order stacks of comics. And I remember like back then the New Comic Book Day was on, I want to say was it Thursday or Friday? It wasn't Wednesday. But I remember coming and we would do the day before and stock the shelves, and it was like new comic, like I'm holding my hands out and it's like a stack of comics, like just put 20 issues on the shelf, boom, like boom. Just nowadays it's like, here's new comic, 2 issues, like there's comics that come out that literally have more variant covers than the store actually orders to sell. It's a really sad state, and I don't want to harp onto the negativities of it, but it's just sad because there's good books like this Astrobots that gets overlooked. So, and I'm sorry I don't have a digital. I throw it up there so people could see, but it was fun.
So I just heard something. The guy who's working on Conan the Barbarian right now for Titan, the interior artist, is the same guy who was interior artist for Miss Marvel back in 2006, the one that Brian Reed was writing. Did not notice that.
Oh.
Yeah, he wrote 1 through 12 or he drew 1 through 12 the interior art for Miss Marvel. No wonder art's so good. But continue.
Comic Book Frog tells us that Eric's pick is Benito Gallego on Lord of the Jungle.
I never would remember that name, and it's no here. So I feel for Eric because I feel like I think it's either Sal or John Buscema, but it's really really good looking art. It kind of looks like the old Tarzan art from back in the day. So
Undead Quinn informs us that Astrobots trade is coming out in 2024. I'll see about it. I don't tend to buy physical trades that much anymore.
I got my Hawk Slayer trade, bro. Took me about a year and a half.
I don't like buying trades that I don't know. Like I like buying trades where I've read this series and I get the collected edition. I already know I love it. I'm gonna buy it. I don't like going out and paying like $30 for something and I'm like, I hope it's good. Like it's just I did read the first issue of Astrobots. I did enjoy it. It's sad to me that there's not a digital option. I understand kind of why digital is kind of destroying comic. Anyways, I'm gonna keep that in mind. Thanks for letting me know, Undead Quinn. All right, I think that's it for that topic. Let's move on to the next one. Topic is this one will be interesting.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right, you will be. Judge away. Publisher of the Year 2023. By the way, I realized I never actually put the picture of Astrobots up there.
So I also have a follow-up for that one. Publisher I spent the most money on.
Yeah, right. This does not have to be the publisher you spent the most money on, but the publisher that just sort of gave you, I don't know, just it was a standout. Like you appreciated the most for whatever reason. Either they gave you the most of your favorite comics, or they did something really special that you appreciated, or whatever reason, something that made your hobby of comics like stand out. What publisher did the best this year for you?
So that's funny you say that because I did create a separate category for the publisher I spent the most money on because they're different for me.
Oh, for sure, I could see that.
Yeah. For publisher of the year for me was Miller World. It was
So Image.
Miller World. Yeah, well, Miller World through Image, yes. It's just been a ride, man. He's not the money I spent the most. He's not the publisher I spent the most money Image but they had the most quality books. Where DC had books that I liked. Jeremy Adams had a lot of good, Flash, but then he jumped. He said he was kicked off. Then it dropped off, But if Miller had been running a lot more issues of Night, I'd probably be the company I spend the most money on. But the fact it's not. It was a limited. The Ambassadors, and then we had Big Game, and then Nemesis, which is by about 36 issues.
Yes, but Image also gave you a lot of other comics you love, besides Mark Millar's books. Image also gave you Geiger.
Geiger, I got two issues of that from this year because the
Well, you
Geiger
also got the
X6
resolution of last year's Geiger. You also got Junkyard Joe. You also got
well
Kirkman
Geiger
series, Firepower and Void Rivals.
I wasn't buying Firepower. You guys were. Um,
You buy the Firepower trades.
No, I bought one trade, the hardcover. Absolutely, I'm waiting for the actual collected in the
Well, that's
compendium.
that's okay. You buy a collection, so you are buying Firepower just in a different format.
Well, I bought the prelude.
And you said you're waiting on the next one.
Yeah, waiting for this series.
I'm assuming that means you're buying it. I don't know why this is an argument.
I'll be buying it next year. Yeah.
My point is there's lots of other Image books that you're also getting that you're enjoying, not just the Mark Millar.
But I go for Miller. That specifically what I'm going for. So, I understand he's not a publisher, but I said wherever he's going, that's where I'm going for. That's gonna be my publisher of the year because I like his stuff more than anything else.
All right. Interesting that Miller wasn't your writer of the year, but
because he limited. That's why.
Okay. Zach, do you have a publisher of the year for 2023?
I do have a publisher of the year, and it's for a different reason, but it's the same one that RDV had. Image, but the main reason it's not actually for Mark Millar and his work. It's actually because of Skybound and everything coming out of Skybound. Is the main reason that I'm going with them for publisher of the year. Firepower has been, even after the upset, they still are and have been one of my favorite books to pick up throughout the year. Also, the big reason, or the big thing that puts them on my radar this year, is the fact that they acquired the license for all the Hasbro properties. So G.I. Joe, Transformers, Void Rivals also coming out through Skybound. All of those have been, it was a really big announcement, and got me really excited as a G.I. Joe fan. That I'm going to be able to read Robert Kirkman and Josh Williamson and those guys writing those titles or having those titles come out through that company. So yeah, Skybound through Image is the big. Now, of course, there's all the other one, like you mentioned, Mark Millar. Through Image, although he's not going to be through Image this year coming up, but
he's going to be Dark Horse, yeah.
It's going to be Dark Horse, but yeah, this year all the stuff he had coming out through Image, like Big Game was amazing, Ambassadors, all the Mark Millar stuff that I've read was fantastic. Yeah, Image has had a pretty good year, and I'm not a guy that normally flocks to a lot of indie books. This was like a really big indie year for me with comics. So yeah, Image Comics wins for me for Publisher of the Year.
All right. I
was just gonna say the one I spent the most on for me was DC Comics.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
they got a lot of books. They were when I used to be a DC person, that they were my number one expenditure as well, like by far. My publisher of the year 2023 is probably, to no one's surprise, is Image. Almost all the books I buy are Image, and not even so much because I try to buy Image. It just sort of worked out that way. And I think the two leading reasons Image is such a big publisher to me is Kirkman's imprint with Skybound and Mark Millar's Millarworld imprint. Those are two massive quality factors that elevate, but it's not the only thing. We also have Mad Ghosts stuff with Jeff Johns we talked about, so we get all the Geigerverse or the Unknown, whatever we're calling it, the Unknown War stuff goes through Image. But we also get really great things like The Enfield Gang Massacre is also an Image book. All of Ed Brubaker's stuff we forget because he doesn't do floppies anymore, but he's publishing his hardcover books, about 2 a year. All those are through Image. And those are amongst the best things that I get. They tend not to get sort of the same love because they're not constantly they're not constantly out there. They just like every sporadically one comes out, and then like the last one came out, I didn't even know because I was looking at Amazon and I was like, oh, it comes out in mid-January, and you guys are like, no, it's already out. So I was like not even aware.
Yeah, Image gets really confusing because they have so many different little mini companies that they're publishing for.
Well, because they're all
DC.
creator owned,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
creators kind of make their own little studios within it.
So I always forget what's Image and what's not Image.
Yeah.
There's so many of
And
them.
some of the others do it too, but to a lesser extent. Like Dark Horse, I think, started this off actually back in the 90s with their, what did they call it back then? Legend series? They had their like Legend imprint. That's where like Frank Miller and Mike Mignola and John Byrne started producing their creator-owned stuff. DC had for a while had Vertigo. Vertigo started off as a creator-owned type of thing. Marvel even used to have an Epic. We would allow for creator-owned stuff, but Image entirely is that. So you're right. It can be confusing, but they are a publisher, and so what they're doing for me is working really well. Like I'm getting a lot of great stuff from Image. Other people are mentioning Undead Quinn, says Artist Writers and Artisans Inc., AWA for short. I don't know why he spells it all out. AWA is his publisher of the year. I think they're a pretty decent publisher. I'm not as impressed with them as I was when they first launched. I thought they launched really strong and were doing nothing but amazing work. In my perception, it seems like they're doing a lot less consistently interesting things these days. However, I think the last thing from them that I was really into was the what's the name? Erratic. Their volume 2 of Erratic was stellar, but I don't even know
That
if
was that was a series. That was a miniseries. Reloaded.
yeah, didn't it like end at the beginning of this year?
I thought it was completely all of this year.
And I think like the final 2 issues were, anyways. When I was flipping through the year to see what came out, I think it was like the final 2 issues were in 2023. Regardless, some of it was this year, and it was fantastic. So they're a decent studio. But it's just hard for me with Image. But then again, I also don't buy all the books, so maybe if I did, that would be more aware. Marani says her publisher of the year is whoever publishes Mark Millar's series. As Image, and Undead also mentions that the AWA is the only publisher that was not massive delays.
Okay, when she originally posted that, I thought she was just explaining what mine was. We're publishers of Marks.
Oh, that could be. That could be actually.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna assume, unless she corrects me, that that's her pick.
It is her pick, yeah.
So there we go. That's publishers of the year for this year. We'll see. Dark Horse is going to definitely up their game now that they got Mark Millar and they're doing Usagi Yojimbo. So those are 2 big things for my taste. Let's see. Now let's get into the big dogs.
There.
Favorite mini series, to be specific. This can also be a one shot. If like a 80-page giant came out, that's essentially a mini series in one book. It can also be a collected. So whatever Ed Brubaker's newest book, that's essentially a 6-issue miniseries in one book. If you want to pick something like that, that would qualify. But it's basically not an ongoing series. So this is the miniseries that's been your favorite for whatever reason. Doesn't have to be what you objectively think was the best. Sometimes it can be a book that had pretty good writing but stellar art, so you loved it, but there was other books that were written better or whatever. You establish your categories within that, and then give us your favorite. What was yours, RDV?
Enfield Gang Massacre.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
It's a
Huh.
mini.
Well, it is,
there was
but
a
I
lot.
was not
There's
expecting that to be your number one pick.
well, there's a lot of minis. I was looking at them earlier. Or just limited stuff. There's like Batman the Joker and all that stuff. There's you could go anything, any of the Mark Millar stuff. There were 6-issue miniseries, Nightclub, Nemesis.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah,
would have expected one of
yeah,
those above,
yeah. Even
especially.
Berserker.
Okay.
Berserker was limited too. But like I said,
Well,
Enfield Gang has just been fun.
most
Yeah.
things are limited series these days. So
I know.
That is true.
Yeah, I think I got like I counted like 14 different things. I was like, and then like half of it's either Jeff Johns or it's Mark Millar.
okay.
But Enfield Gang Massacre kind of just stood out, and it's probably because it's a western, and there's really not many westerns, and that really stood out to me. But the story starts, and it's a mini Brubaker.
Right.
It's like, yeah,
It's really
like
good. Like it was my surprise of the year for sure.
uh,
I'm just
I
I'm
want
I'm going to add to my surprise of the year that it was your number one. Not that you thought it was good. I expected that. I just didn't expect it was even better than everything else. That's cool. Go ahead.
well, it's my favorite mini, not my favorite book of the year.
Okay, better than every other mini. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a. I want it to be a movie or a TV series, limited
Uh,
TV series.
Oh, that could be a good
That'd be great.
movie.
I problem with movies, they condense things. That's why I like 6 issue limited series or limited to a television show. You could do that.
I think you could fit 2 hours of content would that comic is not that
Doing the style,
dense.
doing the style of the Hatfield and McCoys.
I think if you I would worry that if you did it as a TV series, it would stretch it out too much. That was my problem with Umbrella Academy. It felt too decompressed and when they did it on TV show. But
I enjoyed it more. It's,
okay. All right. That was your pick. Do you have anything more to say about it, or move on to Zach?
uh not much. Like just saying it. It's another surprise book for me. I'm typically out of my wheelhouse. I'm usually superhero stuff. That was Eric Breen told us to read it or review it, and we reviewed it on the channel. I was like, and it's just and literally, if they would have dropped this book every had all 60 issues on once, I would have binge read it. It's just that great.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, Zach, what was your favorite mini of 2023?
Man, I tell you, it almost feels bad calling this a mini series because it was so doggone epic. But it is a guy we've already mentioned several times, a series we talked about several times. Mr. Mark Millar, his masterpiece, Big Game, is my mini series of 2023. This was fantastic. It will appeal to you if you're a longtime fan of a bunch of Mark Millar's properties. If you've been a longtime fan of Kick-Ass or Magic Order or Ambassador or Prodigy, or if you're brand new, like I was more brand new. I hadn't heard of a lot of these before this year. Uh, it'll appeal to you either way, I feel. It gives you credit. It doesn't treat the reader like a dummy. The story is fantastic. All of these characters that if there's ones you don't even know about, you end up coming out of this really curious and wanting to read more about them. I know that was the case with me. Of course, you mentioned earlier how Pepe Larraz's art was just fantastic. It really adds to the sense of epicness of this whole story. I mean, honestly, I can't think of one thing to gripe about with this. It was just a fantastic story from beginning to end. A comic book that I was always just like excited to go pick up from the store. Uh, yeah, it was just fantastic. The only event I feel like you needed to know about this year in the world of
Mhm.
comics.
It was the only event we talked about.
Well, there's lots of events if you think about Marvel and DC.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
It's like no one thinks about those.
all right. My number one miniseries of 2023. Originally, my first pick, I have to scratch it, but my first pick was Animal Castle.
Ah,
Animal Castle is my absolute favorite comic. But for whatever reason, something's going on at Ablaze. They're the publisher. The volume 2 of Animal Castle, which is this year, they've only published 3 issues, and then it just stopped. And I don't know what's going on. Like there's been no mention. I went to their website to look. There's no solicits for future issues. I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on. They're a small
like
little
you're
publisher, so I don't know if it just got dropped and I'm just like, what's the deal? Are you ever gonna like what? I just so it's a detriment to it. I can't, in good faith, pick it over other things, even though what I got, the 3 issues I got, are phenomenal. I
I
can't.
heard it. I heard it. I heard they get rid of the furry stuff. They're cracking down on it. That's why.
It's not a furry. Jesus. Um. Also, Infield Gang Massacre is not my pick, even though it might technically be a better written book. It is, to this point, flawless, but it also hasn't ended. I don't know how it's going to stick the landing. I can presume it's going to be phenomenal ending, but who knows? That's a big guess. But as of right now, it's superb. But this pick that I'm picking is also big game because everything you just said, it deserves it. Um, it's one of the best crossover events that I've ever had the pleasure to read. It really, I have to say, in my mind, is the best crossover event I've read since the original Infinity Gauntlet. Like it to me, it's that level. And just like that book, which paired amazing writing with beautiful George Perez art, this also pairs beautiful, great writing with beautiful Pepe Larraz art. Has all the same impact, all the same like oh my god, oh my god moments. Just it just brought me back. Like the comics have not done that for me in so long, and to do that in the superhero universe, to do it outside of Marvel and DC of all places, like I just never would have expected this. This book has no. I just can't believe this book exists. Really, I really just want Mark Miller's universe to explode in a good way, like because I feel like it deserves it. I feel like that would just make these type of things even better. I mean, imagine if he was working in a world that was as popular and well known as Marvel and DC's worlds. Um, this would be even more impressive. Um, so yeah, I loved every minute of this. There are unlike Zach, I can nitpick this book, and I think I already did, so I won't mention that stuff here. But they're just nitpicks. The
Yeah,
overall
I didn't.
experience was so phenomenal to me and so exciting. I can't help but say, I mean, I'll still call this a 5 out of 5. It's still bravo to Mark Millar. It's one of my favorite things that you've done. I'm so glad that I didn't binge this. I'm so glad that I got to experience it in real time and have to wait 30 days and be like, oh, what's going to happen? And then get the next issue. And it just was made for a really fun experience that I believe is what comics are good at doing, like what they specialize in. I don't think comics were you can do them as collected issues and trade paperbacks and graphic novels, and Ed Brubaker's doing it and it's fine. But there's just something about that stretched out like you got to just eat little bites at a time and then wait, that amplify a really good experience. And then being able to share it with you guys and talk about it, week after week, and just be like, oh, it's going on. Oh yeah. You guys, I mean, you guys do a show on a different channel. We just, this whole experience of the social interaction that we get out of this, is possible from books like this. So yeah, number one, big game.
Yeah, I didn't choose big game because I consider it an event, separate category.
We don't
Plus, I
have-
figured you two were gonna choose that.
Well, you just choose whatever you want. You don't have to choose it based on what we.
Oh well, no, I'm going off a mini, so that's an event. So it's I consider those two different things. That's why I didn't choose it. So,
Well,
but
I mean, every event is a mini. Like it's a 5-issue
but not
mini
but,
series.
but not every mini is an event.
Technically, yes. I mean, it's just how much emphasis you put on it. Not every mini is a crossover of characters, but I mean, anyways, let's see. Pink Elephant by Sumerian Comics is Undead Quinn's pick. And he says he started reading that because of Skip.
Oh.
I think I've heard of this book. Really trippy covers. Looks like there's only a couple. I don't know how many issues this is supposed to be. Looks like 3 issues.
Sumerian, a bunch of Gozo worshippers.
I know nothing about this book, but this definitely does seem like something like a Skip book. But if that's your miniseries of the year, Undead, then maybe it's worth trying out. We'll have to talk sometime. Looking at the cover, this is not something I would ever pick, but there you go. And let's see. Rhaegar says he was right. His prediction came true. Big game was mentioned. Well, I mean, it's because it was a phenomenal book. Undead says Ablaze with many publishers are going under. They're Portland based. Oh, that sucks. Hopefully, I mean, if they can't do the floppies, if they just make the collection, because I got the hardcover edition of Volume 1 of Animal Castle. So I'm like, if you can't finish publishing it, you just do the collected hard. I'll buy that. But
I'll believe that when Samurai Doggy gets an ending.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing with Animal Castle, it's already been. I'm almost positive that this is an European import. That they just took a book that was already published in Europe, and they're adapting it for the American market. So I believe it's already made. They just have to publish it. Anyways, it sucks because it's so good, and I'm like, where's the rest of the issues?
I want Samurai Doggy. You got me reading that, and then it's never finished. So
I want it. I want it too. I want it too.
it's like, dang it.
I want it too.
I knew as soon as Aftershock was going after, like, oh no, I'm not gonna read this. And you're like, let's read it.
All right. So that was a favorite miniseries. Let's move on to favorite ongoing. I forgot even the word because it's so rare these days.
Favorite book past 14 or 10.
So this ongoing series is defined. I will define it here.
Past 12 issues.
Past 12 issues. Past 12 issues, or is currently being published under 12 issues under the advertisement that it's ongoing. So if it's on issue 6 and it's going to be canceled at issue 8, but no one knows that yet, and they're saying it's an ongoing, then you can count it, right? But we don't know. But hopefully, if it's really worth the best ongoing, it's not about to be canceled. But you just never can tell these days. Best ongoing series. of 2023. Zach, why don't you start us off?
Best ongoing series of the year. I'm gonna say, and this is one I
Or
had
favorite.
written
It's your
down.
favorite, not necessarily the best.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes this a little bit easier then. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna say Josh Williamson's Superman.
Oh,
A lot of people might not have seen this one coming from me, but
I didn't.
yeah,
I did not.
this is a book. Again, it's one of those where I'm prioritizing the ones that I am actually excited to read each month or whenever a new issue drops. Because there are some books like it's like the Spider-Man effect. Like how there are the collectors that'll say, "Oh, I have to get the new issue of Spider-Man," but it's just to complete their collection. It's not just because
It's a
they're
mid
excited
book.
to read it.
Yeah.
Superman, though, since Joshua Williamson's been on it, has been just a delight to read.
Jamal Campbell, right? Is that his name?
He's
The
the
artist.
usual artist. Yeah, he's the artist.
I couldn't
But
remember what his
Josh
last name
Williamson,
was. Yeah.
his writing of Superman has been great. I like how he's been writing like this complex relationship between Superman and Lex Luthor. How he writes his marriage with Lois is endearing, and it's what everybody wants to see with married
It's
couples in comics.
it's Superman by
It's
himself.
it's no, he's got a supporting cast. It's got
They're like they're
You've
gone.
got Jimmy Olsen, you've got Tessa Mercer, you've got all of these like
Uh,
B-list supervillains who come in and they're made relevant, and it's really
no, but
cool to see some of these evolutions that Josh Williamson has done with some of the villains, like Parasite or Silver Banshee. It's just been a really fun series, and there's elements of mystery. You're not sure if Lex can really be trusted or not, or if he's actually trying to do the right thing this time. Jamal Campbell's art certainly it adds to this as well. His art is just fantastic. He's I don't think he's Dan Mora level, but he can definitely get up there. His art is you can tell when it's not one of his issues that he's drawn. The book almost takes a hit. But yeah, just the way he draws all the characters, the expressions, the motions. It's just been a fantastic series so
Good.
far.
I'm just going to say real quick about Jamal Campbell. That dude is so good that he
Yeah,
almost made Naomi a readable comic. That's how good. Like he almost made me enjoy Brian Michael Bendis' book. Sorry, go ahead.
wow. No. I was done.
He's
I
really
was
good.
all.
I was gonna say, as far as supporting cast, he has a real supporting cast. It's not like Action Comics where you're stuck with a whiny Connor, and then you got Supergirl, and you got two kids that no one cares about. It's
I guess
it's
I'm
back.
nobody because I care about the kids. So I guess
You are
I'm
nobody. You're not. Yeah, you're not even good enough to be a Bob Clerk.
Jeez. You
Mr.
actually like
Nobody.
those new super kids that they made, Zach?
Yeah. I don't mind them. I think they're good. The whole War World story Philip Kennedy Johnson did. I thought it was a really good Superman story.
All right.
And there's these two kids that Clark frees and brings back to Earth because they don't have a home to go back to. So
All right.
I enjoy it.
All right. All right. So Superman, I'm gonna have to check this out. I do like Joshua Williamson, even though I don't read DC stuff anymore. I really
I think
love Jamal Campbell's work on Naomi. Like it was, I wanted to like Naomi so much. But so the fact that he's actually paired with a real writer now on probably my favorite DC hero, Superman is a character that makes when Superman's done good, I just love it. But it's like he's so easy for me to mess up. And I guess like with what Bendis did, and then after Bendis left, and they just kind of kept fumbling the ball. I just kind of got shell shocked, and I was like, oh, I just want to stay away from Superman because I'll get triggered even if I read mid Superman, I just can't. But if this is your number one ongoing, then it's definitely worth me checking out.
For me,
I
RDV.
think so. I think it's definitely because Williamson's doing like 3 or 4 books at DC right now. This is definitely, I think, his best one.
Especially since you picked it over a Jeremy Adams book, it must be
Mhm.
doing something right.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I was just gonna, oh crap, I forgot now because you guys are talking.
that's all right. You
Uh,
just need to worry about what your favorite ongoing series of 2023 was.
I know what that is, but I was gonna mention about the whole thing, but I'll come back to me later when you guys are talking. I can't talk again because you guys keep talking.
We're
That's
giving
all.
you the floor, and you're like finding
It
reasons not to
wasn't.
talk.
No, now that after I forget.
Yeah, he had the floor, and you
All right.
didn't want him to. And now
It was
you have the
my, it
floor,
was
and you don't
my
want that.
turn.
No, I remember. Never mind.
Take a
You
drink.
drive me nuts.
D- d-
I need a drink with you guys.
d- How dare you
No,
talk about your favorite book when it's your turn, Zach?
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't
but
realize.
no, he was done. He was done, and then Ash went on.
I
You
just
guys
mentioned
talking again.
Jamal Campbell being good. That's all I did. You're getting triggered. I think you've been
uh,
doing these 2023 streams too much. You're just getting
I think it's
overdosing.
I think it's 2 a.m. and 2 a.m. and we took too long by talking about 2 other books before we got to the categories. That's what it is. No, so my number as far as ongoing, well, it's got to be Dan Moore and Mark Wade's it's World's Finest, Batman Superman. It's been completely it's an ongoing series, and it takes place in the Silver Age, and it's not retconning anything because people are always afraid. Oh, if you go back to anything like that, they're gonna retcon. It's not really in Elseworlds either. It's kind of like what the Marvel's been doing with their throwbacks. These are stories that take in place in between other stories. They don't really change anything. They don't, but they're there, and it's just great seeing the Titans being Titans again. Seeing it's Dick Grayson as Robin. There are other Robins. So the only legacy characters are those legacy Ashes. You should read it more. Since you don't like legacy characters. But
Love legacy characters, man. You got me.
He just recently went back to doing Kingdom Come series that I wasn't really into it. I know people really love it. But honestly, I just been loving the art. I've been loving the storytelling, just loving the personalities. Uh, Getting to see the what do they call the elementals? Or no, Metalmen. That's what they are. Metalmen. We had that story early in the year, and now we're touching on the Kingdom Come. Mark Wade might be in a fucking asshole outside of comic books, when he writes, he writes. He's not like these other writers who basically will virtue signal, write good, and then start putting his crap in there. He realizes that he needs to put his agendas aside and actually put a decent book. So, other than that, yeah, I'll said the other category. Other thing I'll think of. Oh, what I was trying to forget or whatever. Never mind. I'm just going to bed. Good night. I'm done.
You don't need to think of any other categories. Unfortunately, I'm like trying to find the teen. It's called Teen Titans. Is that what the name?
No.
No.
It's
It's
called
World's
that.
Finest. That's why I'm looking at the wrong.
Just World's Finest. Yeah,
There-
Teen Titans was a spinoff of
Yeah.
He's
that
also
same
doing that, but
timeline.
But it's
Yeah.
it's Batman Superman World's Finest.
it's I was trying to just put it on the screen.
Teen Titans is the World's Finest Teen Titans. No, but
This is the problem. It's so frustrating to these days when I'm trying to like go find the book, and it's
you
like
just passed. It's if you go back. Okay, because you're not sharing your screen on Discord. But
yeah, no.
it's you typed in World's Finest. It was the middle book in the top.
No, the middle book at the top is 2009 to 2010.
Because you skipped the page. I was watching you.
Oops, wrong.
And you. So I'm also watching an 8-second delay now.
I know. Well, I haven't moved it. There we go.
So just type in World's Finest like you did originally.
I did.
Well, how did you get the other one? Because you had a whole selection of other books when you were typing in before. Now you
That was
have
Teen Titans. My original search was Teen Titans.
okay, because type in World's Finest.
That's what we were just looking at.
Right there, in the middle.
Oh, it's Batman, Superman, World's Finest. That's why I wasn't.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, if you just typed in Batman, Superman's World's Finest. But
Well, that's the problem these days. It's like so difficult to find books because there's a million different volumes, and so when you do a search, it doesn't just pull up. Here's the book you're looking for. There's like here's all the
Well,
20
to
other
be fair-
variants we used to do.
yeah, you were searching by World's Finest.
How dare they? It's called World's Finest.
It's called Batman, Superman, World's Finest.
Oh, whatever. Here it is. I wanted to just have it on the screen when you're promoting it. So,
Yeah.
it's a good looking book. Dan Mora's art.
That's-
This is
Yeah.
like you were talking about before.
That's the first arc from last year.
Yeah. So this is the
Where
trade
the-
paperback for people if they want to get it. First 5 issues. The Devil Nizha.
Came out. Yep.
All right. All right. So that is your favorite ongoing series. Zach was Superman.
Raker,
get-
do you buy comic books at all? Sorry, I just see him. He's like Mark will never get a cent from me. I'm just curious because a lot of people say stuff like that, but they don't even buy comic books.
Well, Mark will
No.
never get a cent from me either, and I do buy comics.
I know. It's just
Now I was gonna put up Superman. This is what I was talking about before, like for Zach, and it's like, okay, which is the new Superman series? Like a billion volumes of Superman. But I think everyone knows. You guys a good guess what my number one for 2023 is? Any guesses?
Firepower,
Ongoing. Maybe it could be Firepower.
Samurai Doggy.
That's not an ongoing.
We're still waiting for the end. Then it's not going.
Could be Usagi or Jumbo.
Oh no, it's Sacrificers probably.
I guess it could be that too.
Whatever book he's reading now, he's been reading a book and he talks about it. But it might be Void Rivals though.
Could be. Oh, could be. Oh, you know what? It could be. You're
And
right.
it is.
You know that it is. I was typing on the screen.
No,
Yes,
actually,
Void
I
Rivals.
looked-
Void Rivals is my number one favorite ongoing series of 2023. This book, man, when it started, I was just hoping it would be just like pretty good. I was like, just be a 4-star book. Like I don't expect it to be better than Firepower. I don't expect it to be Oblivion Song. I don't, Walking Dead. I know those days. Like the Void Rivals got a weird name, and I don't know. And then the first issue came out, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a fun little first issue. Kind of enjoyed that. And then the second issue came out, I was like, oh, I feel like there's a little something here. And then the third issue, and then the fourth. Like every issue is better than the one before it, which is a sign of something really special. I don't expect that's going to continue. I mean, eventually, diminishing returns. You can only keep getting better for so long. But I'm just really enjoying this book. I can't even explain it. It's not even something that I would normally, pick out for myself, but it's working. I'm trusting that Kirkman apparently has, an idea that isn't readily apparent on just like the original premise. Kind of the way Invincible is. Like if you on the original premise, you're just like, oh, it's another teen hero kind of, but there's more to it. Void Rivals seems like there's a lot more, and then it takes a twist or a turn that you go, I'm not sure I want to go that direction. And then he sells me on it and go, oh, I do like this direction. I love that it has a Saturday morning cartoon feel that makes me feel nostalgic from those days when I loved Saturday morning cartoons, but without actually being like Saturday morning cartoons. Because truth be told, I wouldn't want to watch Saturday morning. Those cartoons would not appeal to me today. Not 50-year-old Ash, but Void Rivals does. The chemistry between the two characters make them so fun and just interesting that sometimes I don't even care what's the story's going on. I just love watching them happen. The artist, Lorenzo De Felici, he was the hardest thing for me to get over when I read Oblivion Song. I was not. I was like, okay, the art's whatever. It's an independent book. I'm here for the story. We talked about that in the beginning, where I was like, it's art. But after his own personal book that he did, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it now. It was last year. It was one of my favorite books, and now I'm blanking on the name.
Click
Chroma.
on his name.
Chroma. His Chroma book that he did, I was totally enamored with it. So it's like all of a sudden now I kind of became a fan of his art. What he's doing here, he's still not my favorite artist, but I enjoy him a lot more. So this book is just, it's become the book that I look forward to. And there's not a lot of issues out. I think there's only been 6 issues so far. So it's kind of tough to be like, oh, it's the best, but the truth be told is any other ongoing series that are out there, as good as they might be, I mean, if I'm buying them, they're good. They don't give me that I gotta read the issue right now feeling. And sometimes often I get behind, and it's like some of my series I'm like, oh, I haven't read like the last 4 issues or whatever. But this I never fail to read an issue. Like it comes out, what's going on? And it always puts a smile on my face. So Void Rivals is just really solid, fun. Look forward to the next issue, and I hope this has a long run. I don't even care that it's part of the Energon universe, although it is, and hopefully they do something good with it, but it totally works on its own. So that's my number 1.
It's lacking Ultra Magnus. You could be better.
Undead Quinn says that Aftershock is DOA. Samurai Doggy ends with it committing seppuku. Oh man, says Evil Black Cat. Why is he always so evil?
Golly. Jeez.
Undead Quinn says
Void
The
Rivals-
Sacrificers. I'm assuming that's what he's saying is his ongoing series. That only has like 5 issues, I think, as well. 4 or 5 issues. I am a little behind on Sacrificers. What I've read has been enough to keep me interested. It has not impressed me to that level, but I'm not as caught up as Undead Quinn is. So hopefully I'm missing out and I'm going to get caught up to where he is and be like, damn, this is good, because I like what I've read so far. Undead also says Void Rival is a great choice. Marania's pick for best ongoing is World's Finest. Fooey on the Mark Waid haters out there. He's doing amazing work. Which, true as that may be, you can't
If he did,
you can't
he'd be a
fault the
jerk.
Mark Waid haters because he's done some pretty reprehensible shit. So
Yeah.
That
And
is
the thing is, I wouldn't care if this guy is the hugest anti-Trump hater. Just don't put in a book and don't tweet about it. I wish it's one of the things I hate about social media.
he did a lot more than just hate Trump. He
I
tried
know,
to
but
organize
like,
violence against comic YouTubers.
let me
He
explain.
sent he sent a black
explain.
wreath to his former boss
Let
about
me
his wife
explain.
dying. Like he did some
Good
reprehensible
night,
shit.
everybody. I'm saying I don't like social media because now, remember we said never meet your heroes. Now we don't have to physically meet them. We can just read and read their opinions and all that stuff. And especially when they say a lot of crap and they call us bigots now. Before the whole internet stuff or Twitter, I should say, we never would have known that shit, and we would blindly buy. Now it just taints the industry because they can call us all this shit, and it affects us in buying.
Well, it's always affected me in buying, not just in comics. I mean, if I go to a retail store and the person behind the counter cusses me out, do you think I'm going to be like, yeah, I really want to come back to this store? And like how you're treated is very much a matter of wanting to do business with people.
But it's worse than that because it's the people involved in that movie you want to buy. Not that you can go to the retailer and buy whatever you want to buy, your movie or whatever. But if it's the movie, the people involved in the movie saying you're a bigot, now you don't want to buy that movie no matter where it is. I'm just saying it's like it sucks because before social media, and they weren't putting this shit in the books, but now
Certainly.
yeah. Like I
And
said,
and and
it's
look,
just
I want
like
to make clear, I'm not shaming anyone who buys Mark Waid books or says they're good. I was, with RDV, we featured, I think it was issue 17 of The World's Finest on the show. I read it. I gave it positive review, said it was great. Like I can be objective and critique the work and say it's good, but I can also have a personal opinion and say, yeah, dude, I don't want to support you in any way, even though you might be able to do good work. I think you're a reprehensible person. Like they're two different things. And all I'm saying to Marania is not that she's wrong. She's totally right. Only to say there is valid reasons that people have. They're not being unreasonable in that case. That's all. And everyone's got to
sure.
make their own decisions for themselves.
I'm just saying, Mark Waid aside, some of these other guys,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not putting the SJW stuff into their books, you wouldn't know they're an SJW if it wasn't for social media.
Mm-hmm.
So
True. And honestly, I was kind of like forgetting about Mark Waid for a while because like I was like, man, he's at DC. He's like putting his nose to the grindstone and doing some good work, and people are happy. And then it was only just like recently with the Mark Miller thing, and then he decided to like get all involved, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Just shut up and do your work. People are happy with you.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. As I said, it's. But
well.
it's like I'm just saying how crazy it's been with social media. Now you're showing their true color. It's like putting an X-ray on them. It's like what the hell? Like
Yeah.
I wonder how many more books would be supported if there wasn't social media with the creators and writers. No.
Right. Let's see who else gave their things. Undead says Void Rivals is a good choice. He does like Lorenzo De Felice's art in the book. Rhaegar also says that Void Rivals is good, so I'm getting some backup. Let's see. Um, Creators have a responsibility to carry themselves a certain way. This has always been true. They make mistakes and and let their masks slip. I have no pity for them. They are adults. Fair
Well, I'm
enough.
not supporting them. I'm supporting my comic book store, and that's the only book that's being put out by these guys. I'm gonna say fuck you to my LCS.
Well, you can
These are
always
books
buy.
I can. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
just as devil advocate, you can always buy back issues, and if you really want to support your comic book store, folks, back issues gives them the most profit. So, just as a piece of information. Marani says the reason why that is because people refuse to read World's Finest only because of his comic book actions. They wouldn't give it a chance. Sure. I mean, I was one of those people. Like, I had no interest in reading the book. I did because Venkman was very positive about it, and we did a show, and he suggested we should try it, and I was like, well, I'll be happy to evaluate it and give a fair, objective opinion about it, which I was positive. But as a fan, I'm just being transparent. I'm just saying he took all of the desire for me to even want to approach it out of me. And it doesn't matter now that the book is good because he's made me feel distaste. And that's on him. Like he doesn't have to do that. Like and there's consequences for actions, and I don't think anyone should feel bad. Like Mark Waid doesn't deserve anything, right? The money you earn, and if you make a good book, that's part of what you earn. But if you go out and say a bunch of vile things and get people to not want to buy your book to try it out, that's also on you. And so that's why I was saying, like with the whole Mark Miller thing, I was like, dude, just shut up. Just do your books. People will forget about what you did and then they'll enjoy them. But, live and learn. Like, anyways, it is what it is. People make their own choices. So, um, let's see. It may be seen as unfair, but that's the price you pay for going out of your way to be a donkey to people. So I don't want to get caught up on that. People have their opinions of Mark Waid. Mine are pretty clear. Others are pretty clear. It seems pretty clear too that his work on World's Finest is solid. I read it. If I didn't know anything about Mark Waid, I mean, I enjoyed it even knowing about Mark Waid. I know the guy has talent. It's just unfortunate. And look, I mean, I have music bands that I used to like once upon a time, and then they did or said
Rage Against the
reprehensible
Machine.
things, and then I just stopped listening to the band, not because they all of a sudden became untalented musicians, but because
Like,
sometimes part of the thing I'm a fan of isn't it gets tarnished if I have to always be reminded of something bad while I'm enjoying the thing that I liked. It just tarnishes it. And it's just like I just wish that weren't the case.
uh,
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, you know. Um,
yeah. I mean, like, I still listen to Green Day. I listen to Rage Against the Machine, but I'm not going out there and buying their new stuff though.
well, for me, the big one was Nine Inch Nails. When I was young, I used to listen to Nine Inch Nails, and then I bought one album one
There was
year, and it was like every song was just like basically like F God, and you know, it just was just like it was
um,
so blasphemously like reprehensible, and I was like, whoa. And I was just like, man, you're a talented musician, but my personal taste, I can't listen to what you do anymore. So,
there
but
was
that's
one band I listened to, which was the lead singer got arrested for child porn, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop listening to the band because of that. It had nothing to do with the
I would have
band.
a problem being a fan of someone who raped children, or maybe
Yeah, well,
sorry,
I'm
not
not a
rape,
fan
but
of, not a
porn.
fan of, not a fan of them. I'm a fan of the songs. The songs had nothing to do with that though. It's just that the guy had a addiction. No, that was he's messed up. But I'm not
Yeah,
gonna. I mean, I'm not going. I'm not like they're not. They broke up, obviously, but it's like I'm not gonna like fault something that somebody says today and say like, well, I'll never listen to any of their older stuff ever again. You know, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
no, I can't do that. I mean, if you do something reprehensible like pedophilia, like I don't have any that's like a hard line for me. Like you don't like Trump, whatever, I don't care. It's politics. Like like once upon a time I thought Bush was a good president. Like people just make mistakes. Like it's fine. That's like low
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
You do vile, reprehensible crime. I can no longer disassociate the pleasure I have in your artistic work with the knowledge that I go, oh, but you're a just like evil person. Like I just to me it just bothers me. And if I guess if it doesn't bother you, then so be it. I'm not here to lecture people. That's just me. But let's move on past that. I mean, we're not.
I'm here to lecture. I'm here to lecture Zach. He's been quiet.
If I
Uh,
start talking, you're just gonna interrupt me again. So
uh,
I figure I'll just stay quiet.
all
What's
right.
that
So
like?
come on, stop it. I have to turn this car around. All right.
You have a car? Hashtag
Yeah.
cars.
Venkman complains about the length of time these things takes, but then he's constantly the contributor to the delays. Uh,
Now I am.
what are you most excited for in 2024, RDV? Or
Going to bed.
you want time to think about this?
Going to sleep.
Come on, man.
More Transformers. Because I haven't looked ahead to see what else is coming out. I'm just going based on what's still ongoing, and that's gonna
All
be
right,
Transformers.
Zach.
Because
Do you have
All
anything in
right.
2024 that you're excited for?
I have two things that I'm excited for in 2024. But I'm gonna go with my number one thing. I am most excited for Ghost Machine, this new project from Jeff Johns and company. All these top tier creators, top of their craft. They're going completely exclusive. No more DC or Marvel work for them. They're only going to be working through Ghost Machine. And I've seen little synopsis, some of the little sales ads of certain titles that they have coming through. And I gotta say, not a lot of them are, my typical superhero fare, but I'm intrigued. I'm very interested. Between Ghost Machine, Skybound, and Miller World, I mean, these independent publishers, these guys are getting me more excited than Marvel or DC. Really more DC. Marvel, I've pretty much, except for like one or two cases, I've pretty much given up Marvel. At least until well, I'll tell you another thing is that I'm also excited for is the new Ultimate Universe that Jonathan Hickman is writing. That's pretty exciting, also.
Right?
But yeah, Ghost Machine though, that's the big one.
Very good that you put to sleep. That's funny.
All right, so Jonathan Hickman's work in Ultimate Universe and the Ghost Machine projects are the two things in 2024 that you're most excited for. Is that right?
Yeah.
Two of the things, yeah,
Because you
two
have
of the
multiple
things.
things. That doesn't have to be like.
Oh well, then I mean all of the Energon universe stuff coming through Skybound. That's a big one too. I'm just psyched that people were talking about Kirkman getting the license for the Hasbro properties, then he actually did, and seeing what he started doing with them, and then I'm just really excited to see, like, especially with we had Duke #1 come out this last week, and I'm just really excited to see where the rest of that leads to also. So there's a lot that I'm looking forward to. Those are the three big ones:
Yeah.
Ghost
All right.
Machine, Energon Universe, and Ultimate, the new Ultimate line.
And about you, RDV, do you have any other things that you thought of?
Everything from Miller World coming out pretty much.
So yeah,
Same
there's
with Zach
4
said,
new books from Miller World.
yeah, Energon Universe. See more of that. Not really looking forward to Cobra. Been liking Duke. Cobra is just like, okay. So I'm hoping it's not gonna be like, because it sounds like there's gonna be like in Duke, they're showing the origins of GI Joe and Cobra. So it's like kind of like a rehash, a reboot. But trying to think what else. And more Superman. I'm looking forward to seeing whatever Jeremy Adams does next. Obviously he's gonna be doing some. Well, he's only got 6 issues of the Jay Garrick, but Green Lantern's been getting better and better. The last issue of Green Lantern, if you haven't been checking out the series, it's phenomenal art. That 2-page spread. I think we read it on channel here.
Yeah, we did one a few episodes ago.
Yeah, but I'll just say real quickly because I forgot about the whole biggest disappointment since I answered that correct differently. My biggest disappointment as far as books that I thought I was going to really enjoy, but turned out to be my disappointment for me was Ultimate Invasion by Kirkman. It just
That was Hickman.
oh sorry Hickman. See, I just was just kind of boring to me. I wasted what? How much were they? Were $10 per
Issue
issue?
1 was $10. Then it went down.
Yeah, I
All
was
right.
really looking excited for that,
But you've never really been a Hickman fan. I didn't think.
His Future Foundation was pretty good. I liked his Battle World, whatever that thing was he did, where he had where Doom was like the lore.
Secret Wars.
Secret War. Was it Secret Wars? Okay.
That was the 2015 Secret Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was in charge. He had the whole Battle World thing and all that stuff. I like that. It's just
Alright.
that I love the idea of the maker, for the Ultimate Universe. It's just like, and I thought, because actually I thought, because they showed Miles in the beginning, I'm like, oh, is Miles gonna be here? And then like, nope, he's gone. So
Some
I don't know.
people that would be a selling point.
Not really. If it's Hickman writing Miles Morales, I would say that'd be improvement from what he's been written as, by people.
All right. So my things that I'm looking forward to in 2024. My number one thing that I put first on the list was hopefully Animal Castle continuing. That's like please let that's my number one thing.
More
but
Geeky Puppet Show.
More Geeky Puppet Show I am looking forward to. Geigerverse, which unknown, whatever the Ghost Machine, whatever they're calling it. All of that I'm very into. I'm excited that 2024 seems to have like an outline and they're finally getting the ball rolling. So I'm on board for all of that. I'm also very excited for the Millerverse. A little hesitant about the move to Dark Horse. I'm not sure how fan friendly that move is going to be, but I'm guessing it benefits Mark Miller. So be it. Dark Horse is a fine publisher. My biggest concern about him is, that Dark Horse is a little bit more expensive publisher. They tend to have higher priced books. Image has been doing so fantastic. I don't see the reason for the move, but whatever. It's probably not. It's probably nothing.
It's because it's a really boring reason. It's because Netflix has a deal that any of their properties, if they get comic adaptations, go through Dark Horse. And so because they're doing Mark Millar's stuff, because of legalese and contracting, they determined that, oh, well, we should move Mark Millar's stuff to Dark Horse. So it's really weird. But that's why.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'm not sure the truth to that. I mean, that may be true. I'm not saying it's not. It seemed like the sources that people are saying that was more speculation.
Oh.
Um, I did hear Mark Millar say that he has a positive relationship with Mike Richardson, who's the publisher over there, and that guy has been popular with lots of big creators. So that seems a little bit more credible. From what I understand, the Miller World comics, like Mark has kind of like free game from Netflix to do what he wants with the comic stuff. They don't really care. But what you're saying is also possible. It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what matters is what we receive on our side. If we get a good product for a good price, then so be it. So
Yeah, they're bringing up oh man. So you're bringing up Middle World. Middle World as my number one book I'm looking forward to 2024. I just thought about it. That would have to be the sequel to Empress.
all right.
I'd say that Empress is his best book he's done. His
Really?
solo character series.
All right.
It's a space adventure. Yeah, looking forward to that. A Big Game was a really great event series. That's his big thing he did for 2024. But Empress coming back in this at the second volume where they left off the first one. I just want to read more of that. That was fun.
I have to say, I was not as big on ambassadors as a lot of other people were. But now that my hopeful prediction came true, that Kick-Ass became America, like
That's
now
gonna prove it for me.
now I'm like, now I want an ambassador. It's like now I'm like, I want to see where it goes. So
I'm like, shut up, Korea. America's in charge.
Oh man. And so another thing in 2024 I'm excited for is the Energon universe. Which is funny because I don't typically care about IP tie-in comics. I mean, even when I was a kid and I was racing home from school every day to watch G.I. Joe and Transformers cartoons, and then I got into comics, I didn't buy G.I. Joe or Transformer comics. They just didn't do it for me. And the only reason I'm buying Transformer comics today is because Danny Warren Johnson's doing them, and that dude is phenomenal. And it's turning out a fun product, so now I'm excited. Void Rivals is my favorite book of the, ongoing of the year. It's all part of the Energon universe, so I guess why wouldn't I get into G.I. Joe too? Like it's just a no-brainer. So there we go. And those are my top things for 2024. Did the chat list anything that there's? Rhaegar says Duke and
Somebody
Transformers look interesting. Undead
somebody mentioned
Quinn,
Pharaoh
hold on.
earlier.
Undead Quinn says washed in the blood. Is that a comic or are they making fun of me about Ash under
I don't know.
cars? Sometimes it's hard to understand your guys' comments in the chat when it's just like a phrase or a word.
Well, a lot of times they say it because when you're talking about something else and you've gone on 13 subjects afterwards. You know, you've changed topic.
I've gone over 13 subjects. I talked about 4 things that I was excited for 2024. Let's see. I feel all acted like gun hunting never existed.
Oh,
Right.
Gun Honey.
No, it feels like you guys just completely ignored it. Gun Honey, and Gun Honey was out in 2021 and 2022 was a sequel. This Heat Seekers was a spinoff that came out this year, and everybody hated it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the covers.
Well, yeah, I can't deny the covers, but it basically went woke.
I didn't we never ignore. We talked about Gun Honey Volume 1 and 2 on this show, like when it was coming out. I
Yeah,
never
but
ignored it.
he
I did ignore
no,
the spin-off one. That's true.
yeah, he's talking about the Heat Seekers. We're ignoring that was came out this year. It was 2023. It was Heat Seekers, Gun Honey,
Yeah.
and for good reason. It wasn't that great.
13 subjects should be the title of this live stream. Nice. All right. Well, so none of the people in the chat have anything they're looking forward to in 2024 other than probably making fun of me. Any final shout outs about any comics that either didn't make one of the various categories or didn't have a category to fit it in that you think deserves just an honorable mention for whatever reason?
Yes.
I will say I didn't bring him up at all tonight for writer, artist, or whatever. But Daniel Warren Johnson, man, the guy, I know some of the series or some of the trades I read from him weren't published this year, but Murder Falcon, Do a Power Bomb, those are fantastic books. He did the art, and the writing for both of them, and then of course Transformers, what he started doing this year, was just a fantastic read.
All books we wouldn't have read it for Skip.
Yeah. So yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson definitely deserves some shout out.
I owe my love to Daniel Warren Johnson to Skip and Tosh for getting us to read Murder Falcon, appreciating that art storytelling. That's what made me check out Transformers. So
yep,
thank
I
you,
would say Skip definitely. If I'm going to say the best thing of 2023, it was my brother Skip. That's and dearly missed. Yeah, I mean, we can honor him by holding on to the things that he influenced us with, and I will forever treasure Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, he's just a phenomenal talent, but I will always have that connection that I'll remember. Like, for example, I actually have a Daniel Warren Johnson comic that's really hard and rare to get. He did a Star Wars, like a bootleg Star Wars comic.
Oh, cool.
Now, you know me, I'm a massive Star Wars dork. Well, I used to be. I'm not. Disney kind of purged it out of me, but before the Disney, I was like, Star Wars is the biggest thing for all my life. Like, it's just been my biggest thing. And so when I became a fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, he was at some sort of convention, whatever, and he got to go, I'm sure he's met him before, but Daniel Warren Johnson was there, and he called me and was like, "Hey, do you want this?" Or no, actually, he didn't even ask me for that. He kind of like hinted at certain things in subtle ways, and then, anyways, I won't go through the details, but he ended up getting the book for me and shipping it out. And
do you know what really cool to have? Get a customized Sacramento King shirt. It says light the breen.
Like the breen.
It has Curtis' name on there.
Yeah, that would be cool. So anyways, yeah, I got this Star Wars book, and it just makes me remember. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to deflate what you're saying. It would be cool to have some sort of tribute,
man.
So
I feel like too many people that in our community, like, what was it? Mark C was the other one. I remember him that was always popping up, over in East chats. Tito's World was a guy I used to stream with. He just kind of dropped off. Like, Comic Book Jabroni was another guy I came across through other people last year. There's so many people that were in this community that just kind of drop off or pass away. It's like you didn't want to do something to keep their memory alive, So I'm always glad to have my conversations with Skip on Discord still there, and same with on Twitter.
Yeah.
I have all the so it's really cool.
A lot of the ways that I remember people is through shared experiences. So that's what I was trying to hint at. Like, certain of these books, like Murder Falcon, anytime I read Murder Falcon, because not only because he recommended it, but because when we read it, we discussed it with him, and some of the things he said about the book, I didn't really make connections to because I didn't fully understand what was going on at the time. but now as the picture is made more clear, there's certain
So he
things.
wanted to.
Yeah, there's certain things about it, and it's like I will always have that connection. And I treasure
kinda
that. Like
I go to the back of my head. I'm like, did he know? And that's why he wanted us. That's why he wanted us to read Murder Falcon for comfort. You know,
I think I don't know. It's hard to put motive into people. I
I
think that Skip
I think most of
related
it.
to the character in ways that we couldn't
Yeah,
because of things that he was going through. And now that we've understand more of what he was going through, we're able to relate more with those characters and go, "Oh, yeah, now I can see why this might have been even more special to Skip than."
yeah. I was going through our best of the weeks from 2023, and I made it to like the end of February, and then Skip was on there, and I was just like, I just had to pause because I couldn't, man. it's
Yeah.
it's just so hard. It's like I missed the guy. Like he had such a positive impact on my life. Very wise beyond years. Very old soul. Very positive. Never really got negative. Never said a bad word about anybody. Always trying to uplift everybody. Is always in a good mood. So, thank you, Skip.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
Curtis
Skip.
Fisher.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a really perfect stuff. Perfect way to end. I don't think
I'd say that's the greatest loss in comic book industry is Skip Atash.
for
Guy knew
sure.
everybody. So it's like, I'm like, I remember he was gonna give me a Daniel Warren Johnson thing, and like then he died. So I was like, no. Then I lost two things that I wanted. I was like, but man,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Skip was awesome. Skip was awesome. If I wanted a book, like a book request on my Discord, Skip would get it for me. He's like, thank you, bro, because he'd go to the shops by him, and then mailed over. It's vice versa. But
Yeah. All right. Well,
Ash,
thank
you're
you
not.
guys, both of you, for doing the stream with me. I didn't really intend for it to go this long, but it did, and I thank you for hanging in there. We got our best out of the 2023 reflection. You guys that are listening in the chat, thanks for listening, participating, and appreciate you being here. I know that you got a million things you could do with your time. So the fact that you want to hang out and share with us, that means something. So thank you. Hopefully your 2023 was okay and that 2024 will be better. And, read good comics, make friends, see the value in everybody, even if they annoy you. We need to, the world is, we can't fix the world, but we can fix our part of it. We can do our part, I guess. We can all stand to be more loving, kind to each other. I'm not perfect by any means. I struggle with every day, but
I'm doing it for Zach.
do it for Zach.
Trying to be more nicer to him this year.
That's see, there you go. That's all. One step is all it takes. So
Right. I'm on a 12-step program.
if you can just be kind to one person, that's moving forward. So thank you guys. Happy New Year to everybody, and remember the Geeky Puppet Show continues tomorrow, and they'll be doing their top 5 most anticipated books of the week, and you can catch them what time?
Nighttime.
8 p.m. Central.
8 p.m. Central. I always forget the time.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.